Okay, let me see if I stream. Okay. Higgy, how's that? Is this view okay? Man, I'm not even in this. I'm about to be using a different app. I'm going to be using StreamYard soon. For now, I'm still using Riverside, so I have less control over it, which is part of why I'm switching. What is amazing? I don't understand what you mean. Like, what's amazing about it? And can you hear the audio from Rumble? Oops. Okay, cool. Anybody else here? I mean, I see 3 people here, but anybody else who's like in the chat, it's fine if you're not. Give the video a like, though. I would appreciate that. And I think I'm going to start doing some reaction content videos. Those are pretty simple to make. And there's a lot of stuff I want to share with you guys and give commentary on. I'll be doing that soon. We're like 4 minutes. And so apparently they didn't let Larry Elder in, which I like that guy. I don't like him as much as Vivek, but oh, the music just cut out for a second. I thought maybe something was happening. Wonder if we start on time. Oh, I like this music. Okay, I'll be right back. Tell me what I missed.
Some call it the heartland. Others flyover country. But for the 2024 presidential hopefuls, the Midwest is the place to land. Here, there is one battleground that may be harder to win than ever. Wisconsin. A state known for its beer and cheese, gridiron and grit, and also its razor-thin elections. In 2016, Republicans narrowly flipped the Badger State red for the first time since Ronald Reagan. But it was back to blue by 2020. That election came during an unprecedented year.
Okay, here we go.
The country was rife with tension. In the suburbs of Milwaukee, the division seemed deeper than ever. But that was just the beginning.
So everyone left
2 years
when I
later,
left.
the U.S. Supreme Court struck down
All right.
Roe versus Wade, leaving the legality of abortion up to the states. In Wisconsin, that meant a nearly total ban. The power of that issue drove Democrats to the polls this year. Now, that new thin liberal majority on the court could have that abortion issue before it again, just as the race for the White House accelerates.
I don't know how much I'm allowed to say on YouTube, but like
Tonight,
Democrats being obsessed over the Handmaid's Tale stuff, like this is what happens when you give people an inch, they take a mile, and then if you don't let them just kill babies, then you're some sort of fascist. That's how the Overton window shifts. This conversation with somebody recently. And look, that's just one perspective. You know, I don't have a strong opinion on that. I've talked about it a little bit just because it's so complicated, but I just don't like how in that argument people don't really shut up.
Republican candidates have qualified.
8 Republican candidates, apparently not Larry Elder.
On our debate stage tonight. They are here to lay out their vision for America, the battle as they battle for the GOP nomination. Good evening, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum.
And I'm Brett Baer. This is the very same
Black Rifle Coffee Company is woke. By the way, that's
will accept the party's
not a
nomination
fan.
next summer. The 8 contenders are positioned by the order they sit in the polls, with the highest polling candidates in the middle standing center stage.
Okay.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis does not deserve that much applause. Do you see what they just did? They just announced Vivek Ramaswamy. At the point, they announced Ramaswamy while they were still cheering for Ron DeSantis. What I expect to see tonight is people really.
And North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum.
What I would expect to see tonight is them really favoring Ron DeSantis as the establishment candidate.
Ask the questions, and then candidates get 1 minute to answer. If someone is singled out, you get 30 seconds to
They
respond.
should be scared of Vivek.
And when the time runs out, we all will hear this. Very pleasant.
So tonight, these candidates have a big opportunity to break out of the pack and to explain why they are best prepared to be the Republican choice for president. At a time when the likely Democrat nominee, President Joe Biden, is working to convince the country that with Bidenomics, things are looking up.
They call my plan Bidenomics. I'm not sure they meant it in a
Bidenomics.
totally complimentary way at the time. But guess what? It's working.
Who believes him?
But
That's
is it?
hilarious.
More than 65% of Americans say the country is headed in the wrong direction. And here's the reality for some voters we talked to here in Wisconsin this week.
We have noticed a dramatic increase in prices at the grocery store just across the board.
Gas is high and food is high. A lot of people's out here homeless because they can't buy food.
It's tough when you got mortgage rates at 7-8% versus 2 to 3. It's just you can't afford the house anymore.
Inflation is ridiculous. It's killing us out here.
As we sit here tonight, the #1 song on the Billboard chart is called Rich Men North of Richmond.
Rich men north of Richmond.
Singer from Farmville, Virginia.
Yeah.
named Oliver Anthony. His lyrics speak of alienation, of deep frustration with the state of government and of this country. Washington, D.C. is about 100 miles north of Richmond.
These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just wanna have total control. Wanna know what you think, wanna know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do. 'Cause your dollar ain't shit, and it's taxed to no end. 'Cause the rich men, 'cause the rich men.
Yeah, I mean,
So Governor DeSantis,
that song is
why
everything, man.
this
I love
song
that song. I listen to it every single day.
striking
Seriously,
such a
every day.
nerve in this country right now?
It came out when I was in Hawaii, and I listened to it over and over and over
Our
again.
country is in decline. This decline is not inevitable. It's a choice. We need to send Joe Biden back to his basement and reverse American decline. And it starts with understanding
How's the audio?
we
Is
must
that-
reverse Bidenomics so that
How's the audio,
middle-class
guys?
families have a chance to succeed.
I don't
again.
care about
We
talking over
cannot
this frickin'
succeed as a country.
this
If
dude,
you
this
are working hard and you can't afford groceries,
Ivy
a
League
car,
ass.
or a new home, while Hunter Biden can make hundreds of thousands of dollars on lousy paintings.
Well, he's
That is
right about that.
wrong.
Hey, his paintings were good though.
We
His
also
paintings were
cannot
good.
succeed
I don't know
while
if they really were
Congress
his, but they were
spends
good.
Trillions and trillions of dollars. Those
I'm
rich
loud.
men north of Richmond have put us in this situation. And finally, we need to lower your gas prices. We're going to open up all energy production. We will be energy dominant again in this country.
Oops. Uh-oh. It froze. I don't know if
Played
that's
out.
me.
I think that if you asked
Okay.
every one of us up here, that we would agree predominantly with what he just laid out. Here's the difference. The difference is that we're going to have to work and make sure that
The
we
deep state is
sell these
throttling me.
ideas.
That's what's
and we're
happening.
be able to put ourselves in a position where we get a majority of the vote, not only by winning the Congress and the Senate in 24, but also by having someone who's had the experience of doing it. Now, I was elected as a conservative Republican in a blue state with 61%.
I also
of the
don't think I
vote.
need to listen to Chris
the
Christie
Democratic
talk. I just want to hear
legislature against
Vivek,
me the
man. Like,
entire
who cares?
time.
Didn't this
And we
dude sit
still,
on a beach just like
through
Biden did?
hard,
The same
strong
beach.
decision making.
No, Chris Christie was
Brought
on
them around to our
Jersey.
point of view. We cut taxes in New Jersey. We cut debt in New Jersey. We made sure that each and every time we were confronted with bad Democratic ideas, we stood and stopped them. And when there were good ideas, we brought people together to make progress going forward. Truth and accountability are the things we need to do to fight waste. And I'd say the last thing is this, Brett. We cannot sit by any longer and allow the kind of spending that's going on in Washington, because every dollar they spend is a dollar that these people are not allowed to spend on their children and their grandchildren. It's robbing our country, and it's wrong.
Well, Governor, let me just follow up very quickly. New Jersey, when you were governor, had the second lowest credit rating in the nation after Illinois, and it was downgraded 11 times.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what happens when you inherit a blue state that has done that. But when you look at what we did on debt, Brett, in that state, we cut debt in that state, debt that had been left to us by 3 Democratic gubernatorial predecessors of mine who ran up that debt tremendously. And what you also saw us do was to cut the unemployment rate in half. It was over 10% when I became governor in 2010.
How's my volume now, Daniel?
Was cut
or anyone
pension
in there?
payments to public employees to make sure that taxpayers were not being soaked by a public employee union system that was killing the taxpayer.
Thank you, Governor.
Okay, watch that. So they let him go a little bit over.
Excuse me. The song
Wait for how they
also
treat
goes
some of the
after
other ones.
welfare programs. As a senator, now President Biden argued for freezing federal spending. This was back in the 80s, and dealing with sacred cows. He does not talk about that anymore. You have been a senator, though, for 10 years. So what have you done to rein in the increasing size of government?
Well, thank you for the question. Over the last several years, I've had an opportunity to vote against spending package after spending package after spending package. What we also need to understand is that Joe Biden's Bidenomics has led to the loss of $10,000 of spending power for the average family. When you see 16% inflation, your gas is up 40%, your food is up 20%, your electricity is up 20%. We can stop that by turning the spigot off at Washington, sending the money back to the states, and allowing the decisions to be made at their own houses. I helped write the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2017. We cut taxes for a single mom like the one that raised me by 70%, for dual households by 60%, returning to the average family $4,000. If you don't send it to Washington, we can't spend it. That's good news for the American people.
Okay, but just to follow up, you did, during the Trump administration, you approved 4.4 trillion, 4.1 trillion, 1.7 trillion over the course of that administration. That's a lot of money.
There's no doubt that during the Trump administration, when we were dealing with the COVID virus, we spent more money. But here's what happened at the end of our time in the majority. We had low unemployment, record low unemployment, 3.5%.
Because nobody was looking for a job.
The population, 70%.
If you don't talk about the transfer of wealth between the middle class and the upper class,
all-time low, but our inflation was at 2%.
Yeah, so talk about the central banks.
Biden, we've seen the exact opposite.
Dude, come on.
We've seen inflation explode.
The president does not control the monetary phenomenon. At least he's not supposed to.
Buyers today.
Mr. Ramaswamy, you're listening to these answers.
If I may,
hold on
that
one
was
second.
our administration,
so
I don't know if I get a chance to respond.
He didn't mention you specifically.
Dude, Mike Pence, go home.
Mr. Vice President.
I want to hear from that dude at all.
Listening to all of this, why should voters choose you over more experienced politicians on this stage? You're basically, a blank slate for people. You're 38 years old. You've said that you only voted in 2 presidential elections before this moment, this political race.
So first, let me just address a question that is on everybody's mind at home tonight. Who the heck is this skinny guy with a funny last name, and what the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage? I'll tell you, I'm not a politician, Brett. You're right about that. I'm an entrepreneur. My parents came to this country with no money 40 years ago. I have gone on to found multi-billion-dollar companies. I did it while marrying my wife, Apoorva, raising our 2 sons, following our faith in God. That is the American dream. And I am genuinely worried that that American dream will not exist for our 2 sons and their generation unless we do something about it. And I do think Brett is going to take an outsider, because for a long time we have professional politicians in the Republican Party who have been running from something. Now is our moment to start running to something, to our vision of what it means to be an American today.
Yes. Oh my God.
Over the keys to the people who broke it again. You hand it over to a new generation to actually fix the problem.
That's fucking right.
This race, and we're just getting warmed up.
Oh my God. Get wrecked, everyone else. Everybody else is saying stuff that nobody cares about. They've been listening to these lies for 20 years.
Talking about tonight. Then Mr. Ramaswamy.
I
who
kind
is
of
a
like Nikki
successful
Haley, though, I
entrepreneur
think. Maybe I haven't
nationally
seen a
right
lot of
now,
her.
He's beating you in the polls.
Well, I don't care about polls. What I care about the fact is that no one is telling the American people the truth. The truth is that Biden didn't do this to us. Our Republicans did this to us too. When they passed that $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus,
There we
bill,
go.
they left us
Hell yeah,
with
Nikki
90
Haley.
million people on Medicaid, 42 million people on food stamps. No one has told you how to fix it. I'll tell you how to fix it. They need to stop the spending. They need to stop the borrowing. They need to eliminate the earmarks that the Republicans brought back in. And they need to make sure they understand these are taxpayer dollars. It's not their dollars. And while they're all saying this, you have Ron DeSantis, you've got Tim Scott, you've got Mike Pence. They all voted to raise the debt. And
Yep,
Donald Trump
sure did.
added $8 trillion to our debt. And our kids are never going to forgive us for this. And so at the end of the day, you look at the 2024 budget, Republicans asked for $7.4 billion in earmarks. Democrats asked for $2.8 billion. So you tell me who are the big spenders. I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
Okay. All right. I'll take that, man. I mean, Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy are the only two people that said anything remotely human. Everyone else should get off the stage right now.
The cost of groceries is a, quote, major problem for them.
Right.
You blame the Biden administration spending for that increase. But as vice president, your administration spent more
Every
than
hour
any
runs on
prior,
cutting the budget, none ever have. Yeah, Craig, you're right.
Added to the national debt.
I mean, this guy,
$3.5 trillion of
I
that
can't take this guy seriously.
before
He's a
COVID.
snake.
So does
Freaking
that mean
Nephilim.
that you're part of the spending problem?
Yeah, he's part of the spending problem.
Well, first off, thanks for the question. Thanks for letting me respond.
He's just
with
stalling.
reference to our administration's record.
He
I'm
just talked for
incredibly
10
proud of the
seconds and
record of
said
the
nothing.
Trump-Pence administration. I mean, in 4 short years, we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We unleashed American energy. And we appointed 3 conservatives to the Supreme Court that gave the American people a new beginning for the right to life. Now, Martha, you asked earlier who's the most best prepared for this job. And I must tell you, with all due respect to all of my friends on the stage, and even to one that's probably looking on, I think unquestionably I am the best prepared, the most tested, the most qualified, and
What are you
proven
prepared to do? To roll over to the
in this
Democrats?
race. I was a leader in
Come
the
on,
Congress
man.
of the United States. I led Indiana where we balanced budgets and had a AAA bond rating when I was governor. And as vice president of the United States, we spent funding to backfill on the military cuts of the Obama administration. And then we were there in the worst pandemic in 100 years. All that being said, I was the first person in this race to say that we've got to deal with the long-term national debt issues. You got people on this stage that won't even talk about issues like Social Security and Medicare. I mean, Vivek, you recently said a president can't do everything. Well, I got news for you, Vivek. I've been in the hallway. I've been in the West Wing. A president of the United States has to confront every crisis facing
oh my
America.
God.
I will put our nation back on the path to growth and prosperity and restore fiscal responsibility.
Dude.
Just as I did in Congress.
Look at those weak claps. Come on, man. You're not going to do that.
Yeah,
That's fake. His whole finger thing, I will do that. It's fake. It's fake. It's created. It's not organic. Like Vivek.
Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear. Put people back to work by no longer paying them more to stay at home.
Everything he says is a
Rebuild the
banger.
US Fed, stabilize the U.S. dollar, and go to war.
Dude.
The only war that I will declare as U.S. president will be the war on the federal administrative state that is the source of those toxic regulations acting like a wet blanket on the economy. So I'm not sure I exactly understood my comment, but I'll let you all parse that out. For me, it's pretty simple. That's something a U.S. president can do with focus, and I'll deliver on it.
Let me explain it to you.
Let me explain it to you. Let me take 35 seconds to say nothing again.
Slower this time.
I sometimes struggle with the.
You don't need to be slower.
I was a House conservative leader before it was cool. I actually.
And what did
pushed
you
the
do back
Deficit
then? Nothing.
Reduction
Dude,
Act. It was
geez,
the
come
last
on,
time
man.
We actually reduced the national debt in the United States when I was the leader of House conservatives. I balanced budgets and cut taxes when I was governor. I mean, look, Joe Biden has weakened this country at home and abroad. Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people.
Dude, that is not going to go over for him well.
Hold on, it's 30 seconds. when you have a rebuttal, okay? And you are up, Governor DeSantis.
So here's the thing. Why are we?
Oh,
in
I
this
forgot
mess?
if DeSantis
Part of
was
it,
even
and a
here.
major
Who
reason is
cares, dude?
because how this federal government handled COVID-19 by locking
Okay,
down
well, he's got
this
us there.
economy. It was a mistake. It should have never happened. And in
This is more
Florida,
exciting than I thought it
we
was going to
let
be,
the
boys.
country out of
Boys,
lockdown. We kept
non-binaries,
our states free and open.
women
And
as
I
well.
can tell you this, as your president, I will never let the deep state bureaucrats lock you down. You don't take somebody like Fauci and coddle him. You bring Fauci in, you sit him down, and you say, Anthony, you are fired.
Okay, well, he should be in jail, probably.
You know what? We're going to bring in.
I just want to finish responding.
Oops.
Mike, I just want to respond to Mike for 1 second because he invoked me back. Listen, now that everybody's gotten their memorized, pre-prepared slogans out of the way, we can actually have a real discussion.
A
now.
real discussion.
The reality and the fact that
Yes, Vivek.
Not really, Mike. Actually, we're just going to have some fun tonight. And the reality
Dude,
is,
Mike Pence
you
is being
have
an
a bunch of
asshole,
people,
and it's not going to work out for him.
politicians, Super PAC puppets, following slogans handed over to them by their 400-page super PACs last week. The real choice we face in this primary is this. Do you want a super PAC puppet, or do you want a patriot who speaks the truth? Do you want incremental reform, which is what you're hearing about?
I want the patriot that speaks the truth.
Revolution?
I want the revolution. The peaceful revolution. That's what he's talking about.
We're going to take control back here.
We need everyone to have a moment on the economy.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Can I address the
There are
COVID
two
issues
people
that
who
the
have
governor
not.
brought up?
We're going to get back to that. We are. There are two
Yeah,
people
Mike
who we
Pence
have
just
not heard
doesn't
from.
like that a guy
Governor
that's
Burgum,
brown
and from
is getting to
Governor
talk
Keith on
over
the
him.
economy, sir.
Well, great. Thank you, Martha. And
Who is this
of course,
guy?
I'm
I don't
from a town
care.
of 300 people. It's a big deal to make it on this stage with all these folks. But when they were all wishing me well, and I think I took them a little too literally when they said go to Milwaukee and break a leg. So, but I do want to say on this, we're missing something. We can't just talk about the.
What do you
Biden
guys think?
economy
Even if I'm
because the
crapping on your
economy,
candidate,
energy,
let me
and
know in the
national
comments what
security
you
are all
guys
tied
think.
together.
And if you haven't, I
Of course, we're
appreciate you
paying
liking
too
the
much for
video.
energy in our
I think that helps out.
in our country right now. But part of the reason why is because of the Biden policies on energy. We've got a plan right now, the $1.2 trillion of Green New Deal spending buried in the Inflation Creation Act is something that is just subsidizing China. If we're going to stop buying oil from the Middle East and start buying batteries from China, we're just trading OPEC for Sinopec. And then belatedly,
This guy's talking about
the Biden administration
peanuts.
says,
He's
no,
talking
we're
about
gonna
the
put
small
sanctions
stuff.
on Russian oil. Well,
And they're
we put
talking about the big
sanctions on
stuff.
Russian oil. Well, then it's 20% off. Who's buying it? China. So if you buy a battery in this country, you buy a solar panel, it's being produced in a plant in China powered by coal, or it's being powered by oil and gas at 20% off. And every farmer in this country would like to buy diesel at 20% off, just like they're buying it in China.
Governor Hutchinson, quickly.
Thank you, Grant.
Just get rid
Glad
of.
to be here tonight. And let me just tell
Who is
you
this
that
guy?
I'm a pro-life governor from a
Oh, he's got an
conservative
Israel
state
flag
that
on.
have a
Asa
conservative
Hutchinson.
record in which I lowered taxes in Arkansas as governor.
Look at that.
I created
He's got an
a $2
Israeli
billion
flag on his lapel.
surplus that I passed on.
It doesn't matter what
to
other
my
country it is.
successor.
Put the U.S.
And
flag on there.
I made sure
I don't
that
care
we
what this
shrunk the
freaking
size
Zionist
of
has to
government.
say.
We have 14% fewer.
Not like Vivek
state
has an Indian
employees
flag
in
on his lapel. He's
Arkansas
talking about being an
after
American
I left
patriot.
government than when I took over as governor 8 years ago. I tell that because that's what we need in Washington, D.C. We need somebody who can actually
Half these
constrain
people
the
don't
growth
need to
of
be
federal
here.
government, that can actually reduce the size, and I've pledged to reduce by 10% our federal non-defense workforce. That's a specific pledge to make that attacks the administrative state. And let me applaud some of the business partners that are here that have had success in business. But let me tell you, I've been a federal prosecutor. I've served our country in terms of being head of the DEA, in Homeland Security, in times of crisis. And while I think that that's experience that is important for the future of our country, to be the president of the United States that can lead with positive solutions and be held accountable.
Thank you. We have a lot of topics to get to, and I promise we're going to get to everyone if we play within the rules. Okay, next topic. More than 1,000 people are still unaccounted for in Maui after the deadliest U.S. wildfire
about
in more than
Maui.
a century. Hawaii's governor and White House officials said that climate change amplified the cost of human error.
And a tropical storm hit California for the first time in 84 years. The ocean hit 101 degrees off the coast of Florida. And in the last month, the heat wave in the Southwest broke records nearly 50 years old.
So Alexander Diaz from Young America's Foundation has a question for you.
I don't.
Polls consistently show that young people's #1 issue is climate change. How will you, as both President of the United States and leader of the Republican
Are we
Party,
serious
calm
about
their
this?
fears that the Republican Party doesn't care about climate change?
So we want to start on this with a show of hands. Do you believe in human behavior is causing climate change? Raise your hand if you do.
Well, look, we're not school children.
Yeah, I agree
Let's
with
have
you,
the
Craig.
debate.
Too many.
I'm happy to take it to start. Alexander,
So do you want to raise your hand or not?
I don't think that's the way to do. So let me just say to Alexander this. First of all,
Well, Ron
one of the
DeSantis
reasons
just
our country's
told her,
divided
no,
is
we're not going
because
to do
of
it the way
the
you asked.
corporate media
Looks strong
treats
there.
Republicans versus Democrats. Biden was on the beach while those people were suffering. He was asked about it. He said, no comment. Are you kidding
did
me?
say no comment.
As somebody
You shouldn't
that's
have said
handled
that.
disasters in Florida, you got to be activated. You've got to be there. You've got to be present. You've got to be helping people who are doing this. And here's the deal.
Let's just answer the question.
So is that a yes? Or is that a yes? Is that a hand raise?
You do not.
I think it was a hand raise for him, and it's my hands are in my pockets.
No,
because
no,
the
I
climate
didn't
change
raise- I
agenda
didn't
is a
raise a
hoax. Let us be honest.
The climate change
Republicans.
agenda is a
I'm
hoax.
the only
He
person
said
on
it, not
stage
me.
Who isn't bought and paid for, so I can say this. The climate change agenda is a
That's
hoax.
just ridiculous.
The climate change agenda is a hoax.
Yes.
And we have to declare independence for it.
Yes, Vivek.
The reality is, the anti-carbon agenda is the wet blanket on our economy. And so the reality is more people are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought?
Yes, Vivek. Oh my God.
Listen.
No,
Wait, hold on.
I've had enough. I've had enough already tonight.
Oh, shut
A guy
up,
who
dude.
sounds
Chris
like
Christie.
ChatGPT standing up here.
What do you mean, guy who sounds like Chat
The
GPT?
last
That's
person in
you.
one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur.
Oh, because they're both brown? He's like Barack Obama? He's just mad because he was also on the beach.
And you'll help elect me just like you did to Obama too. Give me that
The
there,
same
bro.
type of amateur.
Hold on.
Oh.
Governor Haley, would you like to respond? Are you
So
bought and
Brett,
paid
what I
for?
would like to say is the fact that I think this is exactly why Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
Don't quote Margaret Thatcher. Okay, I hate Nikki Haley now.
First of all, we do care about clean air, clean water. We want to see that taken care of, but there's a right way to do it. And the right way to do it is, first of all, yes, is climate change real? Yes, it is. But if you want to go and really change the environment, then we need to start telling China and India that they have to lower their emissions.
Yeah, well,
That's
we
what
can't
our
do that,
problem
can
is.
we?
And these green subsidies that Biden has put in, all he's done is help China.
Has
Because he
Christy
doesn't
ever ordered a
understand all
salad?
these
I don't think so.
electric Vehicles that he's done. What
She could
that
still
does,
get it. You're
half of
you're
the
right.
batteries
She's
for
a
electric
gorgeous
vehicles
woman.
Are made in China,
And she's making a good point about China as well.
environment.
It's just
You're
there's no
putting
way that we
money
can
in
actually
China's
fix it. And I
pocket,
think she's wrong about
Biden
climate
did that.
change.
So first of all, I think we need to acknowledge the truth, which is these subsidies are not working. We also need to take on the international world and say, okay, India and China, you've got to stop polluting, and that's when we'll start to deal with
Senator
climate.
Scott, are you bought and paid for?
Absolutely.
Are you bought and paid for?
I'm sorry.
Are you bought and paid
Absolutely not. I mean,
He's
it's
not.
what
He's
the
probably not
American
bought and
people
paid for. He's
deserve.
not that big of a
There's
deal.
Debate about the issues that affect their lives. Going back and forth, being childish is not helpful to the American people to decide on the next leader of our country. Number one, wait a second. Number two, as a kid who grew up in a single-parent household mired in poverty, I wondered, was the American dream real for kids who were devastated by poverty, devastated by the challenges of life? I came to the conclusion that America can do for anyone what she's done for me if we focus on restoring hope, creating opportunities, and protecting America. If we want the environment to be better, and we all do, the best thing to do is to bring our jobs home from China. If we create 10 million new jobs in my Made in America plan, we will have a better economy and a better environment. Let me tell you why I say that, Brett. America,
Do it quickly.
America has cut. I'm a Southern boy, I talk slow. So America, that was quick. America has cut our carbon footprint in half in the last 25 years. The places where they are continuing to increase, Africa, 950 million people. India, over 1 billion. China, over 1 billion. Why would we put ourselves at a disadvantage, devastating our own economy? Let's bring our jobs home.
We have a lot of different topics to get to.
Yeah, we do. We thank you all. Thank you, Senator Scott. So coming up next, the candidates will weigh in on what could be a defining issue in the 2024 campaign. The first Republican debate continues moments away.
Okay, first break. What do you guys think? It's everyone's favorites. Let me know in the comments who your favorite is. I'm definitely probably we'll get a Cleveland here because I think I'm going to put this up on the feed.
The unborn in Washington, D.C. And if you cannot do that, you should not be the nominee for the Republican Party. This is a defining moment.
Vivek, don't let me persuade you.
Our government and where the economy
I'm
is
going to
heading?
mute this for right now. Yeah, don't let me persuade you, right? Like if it's I like Vivek, obviously. I think I made that pretty clear. Oh, hey DB, how you doing? Welcome. Yeah, Vivek is mine. Anybody not for Vivek? I feel like we got a lot of Vivek here, but he's I think he's great, man. I like him a whole lot. Let's see. So actually while we're here, I'm gonna share this tab. So yeah, Chris Christie, we're gonna look at his funding real quick since he was talking about, Vivek was saying how Christie was bought and paid for. Look at this. Chris Christie Super PAC raises nearly $6 million for 2024 campaign. I think they all know that Vivek is the guy to get. You know, I think that's where it's coming from. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about RFK, but I like parts of him. So 5.9, this is an old article. Oh, no, it's not. It's from last month. To the independent group, this is a super PAC, Tell It Like It Is. We got Jared Kushner's uncle, Murray Kushner, entertainment mogul Barry Diller, Carolina Panthers owner David Tepper, and real estate developer Harlem Crow, who's giving to U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Well, I like Clarence Thomas. Okay, so let's see what else. So here's the thing. Okay, so Campaign Legal Center. I don't know. This is some special interest group. I didn't vet this before. I'm just looking at this now. But Campaign Legal Center alleges SHBT LLC was a straw donor to Pro Christie Super PAC. So I don't think they really know who it is, but somebody used this LLC as a financial go-between to donate money to Chris Christie through an LLC and then a super PAC and attempted to hide it. And look, I don't know. I don't know who that is. I'm just not sure, but it's clear that Christie does take quite a bit of money. You see here, Tell It Like It Is received 3 $500,000 donations. The guy who owns ShopRite, Trump critics. The fact they ganged up on him proves to me they are bought out, homie. Yeah, I mean, clearly there's a target on his back. Although I do think that part of it really does just have to do with oops, screwed that up. Part of it really does just have to do with what's it called? The him being the front runner, I think. I mean, he's not the front runner. I think DeSantis is, but that's just old momentum that's definitely going away. Okay, actually, we're gonna let's see. Okay, anybody got anything to say before we're back? Should be back in a little bit here. You know what? I'm gonna look up Vivek's funding as well. See if he's getting the money. They simply aren't being cool. That's true. They're not being cool. Oh, we're back. All right. Volume all good on me and on them.
Losing issue for Republicans since the Dobbs decision. in 6 state referendums, all have upheld abortion rights in this country. And even in red states, there are more swing state
Abortion
referendums
rights.
that are coming up.
Why
as we
are the
head into
Republican
elections
debates asking about
as
abortion
well on
rights?
this. So, Governor Haley, what do you say to your party and to your state, which today confirmed a 6-week abortion law as well?
How's that volume?
Especially the impact on women suburban voters across this country.
Thank you, Martha. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children. So I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, we need to stop demonizing this issue. This is talking about the fact that unelected justices didn't need to decide something this personal, because it's personal for every woman and man. Now it's been put in the hands of the people. That's great. When it comes to a federal ban, let's be honest with the American people and say it will take 60 Senate votes. It will take a majority of the House. So in order to do that, let's find consensus. Can't we all agree that we should ban late-term abortions? Can't we all agree that we should encourage adoptions? Can't we all agree that doctors and nurses who don't believe in abortion shouldn't have to perform them? Can't we all agree that contraception should be available? And can't we all agree that we are not going to put a woman in jail or give her the death penalty if she gets an abortion?
Okay. The death penalty
treat
is
this
not
like like a respectful issue that it is, and humanize the situation and stop demonizing the situation.
Brett, Governor, hold on. You're not mentioned, Vice President Pence. Governor DeSantis, you signed a 6-week abortion ban in Florida. One of your biggest financial
Someone just cheered
backers
for that.
said that you need to, quote, shift to get moderates or you will lose. What do you say to him and others who say politically that is a tough thing to sell nationally?
I want
Well, I
them to
would say we
start talking
sold
about
the biggest election landslide victory in the
destroying
history of the
federal
Republican
agencies
Party
again.
in the state of Florida in 2022. That's what I did. We can win. But second of all, look, you got to do what you think is right. I believe in a culture of life. I was proud to sign the heartbeat bill. I remember one of the most impactful moments of my life was when I heard the heartbeat of my oldest daughter in my wife's womb, and then saw the sonograms of all 3 of my kids. What the Democrats are trying to do on this issue is wrong, to allow abortion all the way up to the moment of birth. I know a lady in Florida named Penny. She survived multiple abortion attempts. She was left discarded in a pan. Fortunately, her grandmother saved her and brought her to a different hospital. We're better than what the Democrats are selling. We are not going to
That's
allow
horrifying.
abortion all the way up till birth, and we will hold them accountable for their extremism.
But just to be clear, Governor, would you sign a 6-week ban federally?
I'm going to stand on the side of life. Look, I understand Wisconsin is going to do it different than Texas. I understand Iowa and New Hampshire are going to do different. But I will support the cause of life as governor and as president.
not being specific.
Vice President Pence, you're shaking your head.
Have a national.
Hold on, Senator. Vice President Pence, you're shaking your head. What?
Well, look, I'm not new to this cause. After I gave my life to Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, I opened up the book and I read, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And see, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life." And I knew from that moment on, the cause of life had to be my cause. And I've been a champion for life in the Congress, a champion for life as governor and as vice president. And to be honest with you, Nikki, you're my friend, but consensus is the opposite of leadership. When the Supreme Court returned this question to the American people, they didn't just send it to the states only. It's not a states only issue, it's a moral issue. And I promise you, as President of the United States, the American people will have a champion for life in the Oval Office. Can't we have a minimum standard in every state in the nation that says when a baby is capable of feeling pain, an abortion cannot be allowed? A 15-week ban is an idea whose time has come. It's supported by 70% of the American people, but it's going to take unapologetic leadership that stands on principle and expresses compassion for women in crisis pregnancies. I'll do that as President of the United States.
He called my name, so I want to respond to that.
30 seconds.
So first of all, I will say it is in the hands of the people, and that's where it should be. But when you're talking about a federal ban, be honest with the American people. We haven't had 45.
No.
pro-life senators in over 100 years. So no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president could ban all those state
Well,
laws.
they can, they
make
just don't
women
want
feel
to.
like they have to decide on this issue when you know we don't have 60 Senate votes in the House.
70% of the American people support legislation
But
to ban
70% of
abortion
the
after
Senate
a baby is
does
capable
not.
of experiencing pain.
It's
just going to take leadership.
Hold on.
70% of the Senate does not. You have to be honest with the
We have
American
to have
people.
a 15-week limit.
Let's get Governor
Well, they shouldn't be in the
Bergman for
Senate
one
then. Why would
minute
they be
here.
representing us?
So, but the Supreme Court did overturn Roe v. Wade, and the result of that decision was that it went back to the states. So that's where it is right now. So as I understand it, you are not in favor
I agree.
of a federal ban.
God, why are they asking this guy? I
What
don't
do
even
you
know
say
who he is.
about the
Frankly, I don't
states?
really
There's
care.
about 5 of them, including New Jersey, I think a few others, that allow abortion up until the time of birth, though. If you were president, would you be able to abide that?
Well, first of all, I'm a pro-life governor of a very pro-life state. And this issue is, of course, very important. But I am on the record, and I stand behind that we should not have a federal abortion ban. We should not. And the reason why we shouldn't is very simple. It's the 10th Amendment in the Constitution. In the Constitution,
that's pretty cool. He
which
put
the
a
states
Constitution in
created
his
the federal
pocket.
government, not
He's
the
right.
other way around.
This should be a states
It says
issue
that
thing.
there were certain duties allowed to the federal government delegated to them by the states. The rest are left to the states, comma, or importantly, or to the people. We need to get back to freedom and liberty for the people in this country.
I like that. Brought up the 10th Amendment, man. That's the states' rights amendment. They don't use that anymore.
50 years for this great cause and to return it back to the states. And then the next day they turn around and go, no, the feds should do that because the feds are stepping into people's lives. They're stepping into people's businesses over and over. If we say that the feds should be on this one, where do we stop? I say that we follow the Constitution and this is returned to the states. This is where it should be.
But Governor Burgum, you signed a 6-week ban. Time out. You signed a 6-week ban. Governor Burgum, you signed a 6-week ban.
Yeah.
So you're saying federally, it's all going to go to the states.
Yes, and what is going to work in New York will never work in North Dakota, and vice versa.
Yeah,
That's
Governor
why
Hutchinson, right here.
50 states.
This is too important of an issue that I have to address. First of all, the
get the
Supreme
Israel
Court gave
pin
it back
off
to the
your
elected
jacket.
representatives, whether it's the states.
Come on,
or
it's
whether
embarrassing,
the United
dude.
States
Like, it's
Congress.
any
So
other
there is
country.
authority,
Why do you do
and
that?
that's why President Biden is pushing for a Democrat proposal, which is in essence abortion on demand through the term. So they have their extreme position at a national level. It's most likely going to be addressed in the states, but it's certainly fine for it to be addressed at the national level as well. Arkansas has the record of being the most pro-life state in the nation. I signed 30 pro-life pieces of legislation while I was governor. And every state can determine a different outcome here. And it is the most important issue.
This man has the tightest
for
forehead
women
I've ever
and for
seen for
the
somebody
unborn
who's 60 years
child.
old.
And for our country that we get this right, it's going to be a continued debate. Let's talk about it in terms of compassion, in terms of protecting the life, and also understanding how we have to enhance adoption services.
We have
how
to enhance abortion.
Maternal care. Those things we've done in Arkansas and are important for our nation's future.
There are a lot of issues that are very important. Senator, I'll let you weigh in.
We cannot let states like California, New York, and Illinois have abortions on demand up until the day of birth. That is immoral. It is unethical.
Someone get the
wrong.
Zionist off the
We
stage.
must have a president of the United States.
Everything Craig says is
who
a banger.
will advocate and fight for at the minimum a 15-week limit. I am 100% pro-life conservative. I have 100% pro-life record. I got to tell you, though, we must fight for life. Our Declaration of Independence says our Creator gave us inalienable rights that include life. That is a list. That is an issue we must solve. We can't leave it to Illinois. We can't leave it to Minnesota. We can't leave it to Illinois. We must solve that
He said
issue
Illinois,
with a 15-week
I like
limit
this guy.
at a minimum.
He's not going to win, but I like him.
All pro-life, but what I would love is for someone to ask Biden and Kamala Harris, are they for 38 weeks? Are they for 39 weeks? Are they for 40 weeks? Because that's what the media needs to be asking.
Good point.
Another issue is America and the crime crisis, the homelessness crisis. American cities are in decline. People are moving out as homelessness, drugs, crime move in. There are problems accelerated. They did accelerate during the pandemic and are still rising, actually.
Murders in Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, all up 30% between 2019 and 2022. Homelessness is up 11%, the largest jump in recorded history. Vice President Pence, a lot of this began in the COVID era. How much of what we're seeing happening around this country is a result of those COVID lockdowns? And is your administration in part to blame for how we got here?
Well, I think what's in part to blame is the Democrats been talking about defunding the police for the last 5 years. And we ought to be funding law enforcement, particularly in our major cities, at unprecedented levels. I mean, it's extraordinary to think about the violence that's claiming innocent lives literally every week in every major city in this country.
Yeah.
And yet Democrats and liberal prosecutors in major metropolitan areas continue
Now bring up Soros,
to
but you
work
won't
out their
because you work
fanciful
for him.
agendas to do bail reform and go easy. What we need is strong commitment to law enforcement. We need leadership in Washington, D.C. that'll marshal the resources of the states, marshal the resources of the American people. But let me also say it's about opportunity. I mean, a lot of people don't know that those Trump-Pence tax cuts that we got signed into law go away at the end of 2025 if we don't have a Republican president and a Republican House and a Republican Senate. When I'm president of the United States, we're actually going to cut taxes further. We're going to extend those tax cuts, and we're going to close the Federal Department of Education.
Close the Federal Department of Education.
Funding back to the states.
That's a thing that people are talking about now.
Educational choice and law enforcement. We will bring our cities back.
Governor Christie,
You're not going to do that, but cool idea.
In Milwaukee, reports say there were 30 shootings, and a number of them including kids. Add that to the big increase in school shootings around the country. Democrats blame this crisis on easy access to guns. They also blame Republicans for blocking gun control legislation. What would President Christie do?
You know, I'm proud of the fact, Brett, that I'm the only person along with Governor Hutchinson up on this stage who's actually running United States Attorney's Office. I ran the 5th largest office in America in a state where there is significant urban crime. And the problem is not going to be solved by more money. The problem is that these prosecutors in these localities in the states are refusing to do their job and to arrest violent criminals. So
They're
what
not
President Christie
refusing to
would
do their jobs.
is appoint an attorney general who would instruct each of the 93 U.S. attorneys that they are to take over the prosecution of violent crime in every one of those cities that are failing to do so. We have plenty of room in the federal prisons to lock up these violent criminals and clean up what's going on all across this country in these individual cities. Secondly, what we need to make sure that each and every one of these criminals understand is that the laws apply to everybody. And when Hunter Biden fills out a fake application, a false application for a gun permit, and then is facing a 10-year mandatory minimum, which was mandated by legislation sponsored by his father, and then you have a Justice Department that walks away from those charges, we're telling people that the law doesn't apply to everybody. In a Christie administration, he would go to jail for 10 years.
What about a President Ramaswamy? What does the President Ramaswamy do about guns?
Hear from President
So
Ramaswamy.
the reality is we have a crime wave in this country and we know how to fix it. The question is, do we actually have the spine to do it? More cops in the streets who are on the streets able to do their jobs without looking over their shoulder for getting sued. And we also have a mental health epidemic in this country. Just over the same period that we have closed mental health institutions, we have seen a spike in violent crime. Do we have the spine to bring them back? I think we should. As president, I will. But it's not just drugging up people in those psychiatric institutions with Zoloft and Seroquel. It's a deeper issue. I think faith-based approaches can play a role here too. We're in the middle of a national identity crisis. And I say this as a member of my generation.
You guys all know it here on
problem in our
Illegitimate
country
Scholar.
Right now, the reason we have that mental
Culture
health
is in
epidemic
crisis.
is that people are so hungry for purpose and meaning
Yes.
at a time when
We
family,
are.
faith, patriotism,
Yes.
hard work have all disappeared. What we really need is a tonal reset from the top, saying that this is what it means to be an American. Yes, we will stand for the rule of law. Yes, we will close the southern border where criminals are coming in every day. And yes, we will back law enforcement because we remember who we really are. And that's also how we address that mental health epidemic in the next generation that is directly leading to violent crime
Can I
across
speak
this
on behalf
country.
of
Yes.
the American
DeSantis,
people
really
here?
quickly.
Yes.
Governor DeSantis.
We don't have an identity crisis.
We don't have it. Yes, we do,
We're
Mike
not
Pence.
looking for a new national identity. The American people are the most faith-filled,
Oh my God.
freedom-loving, idealistic, hardworking people the world
This guy's
has ever
talking
known.
like
We
it's
just need government
1987.
as good as our people.
Well, Mike, I think the difference is you might have some others like you may have on the stage. It's Morning in America speech. It is not Morning in America. We live in a dark moment, and we have to confront the fact that we're in an internal sort of cold cultural civil
You
war,
are
and we have to
equating the
recognize
American
that
people with the failed government in Washington,
The
D.C.
failed government
We
is a
just need government
manifestation
as good as
of our
people
culture.
again.
So I can,
This guy
so
just-
I'm finish addressing that
he just
slogan
wants
because I don't
things
know
to
what
stay
that
the
slogan
same.
means. We
I
need to
want you
shut
to
down
weigh
the
in, Governor
administrative
DeSantis.
state. And Mark, that's actually how we translate.
Crime has been on the rise in Florida, Governor DeSantis. How do you stop crime?
Well, actually, crime's at a 50-year low
Not
in
in-
Florida.
not in
We're
Miami.
happy with that. Well, the statewide, it's a 50-year low. And so
Okay.
here's the thing.
Good for you as the executive.
These hollowed out cities, this is a symptom of America's decline. And one of the biggest reasons is because you have George Soros funding these
Thank you.
radical left-wing
Brought up
district
George
attorneys.
Soros.
They get into
Christie wouldn't
office
do
and
that.
They say they're not going to prosecute crimes they disagree with. The inmates start running the asylum. There's one guy in this entire country that's ever done anything about that. Me. When we had two of these district attorneys
right.
in Florida elected with Soros funding who said they wouldn't do their job, I removed them from their posts. They are gone.
Not bad, dude.
President,
Not bad.
as president, we are going to go after all of these people because they are hurting the quality of life and they are victimizing innocent people in every corner of this country, and it will stop when I get into office.
Okay, one more here before the break, Governor Bergen.
Brett and Martha, I just thought it was interesting. You asked your question about the problems we're having in big cities. Nobody ever asked the question of what about the crime wave in small towns? Because in a small town, neighbors help neighbors. People understand each other. If a farmer gets sick, everybody comes together and helps him get the crop off. There's accountability. There's transparency. One thing that I think this country could use is somebody in the White House that understands small town values, because that's our road back to get this country on track again.
Okay.
Governor Hutchinson?
I want someone to bring up Richmond, north of
I
Richmond
understand
again.
the drug crisis in America. And right now, whenever you look at the challenges in our inner city, there's three simple words that would be helpful. One, enforce the law when it comes to crime. Secondly, let's deal with the challenge of fentanyl. And it's both about stopping the fentanyl coming from Mexico, but it's also about education of our young people, making sure that we have the tools that are needed for addiction counseling. That's what we expanded in Arkansas as well. Whenever you look at the underlying challenge of America, though, no one likes to see an America with smash and grab in our inner cities. As President of the United States, that will stop. It starts at the top with the respect for our justice system that a former president who's under indictment has undermined by attacking judges, by attacking prosecutors, by attacking the system and saying he's aggrieved. And so we have to have respect for our justice system and the rule of law, and it starts at the top with the President of the United States.
Is he crapping on Trump right now? The guy.
Speaking of that, right now you are
you
looking
serious?
live at Fulton County.
Did I
Jail,
misunderstand
where
that?
former President Donald Trump will be processed tomorrow.
What?
So next, the candidates will have an opportunity to talk about. the
Oh
coming trials
gosh.
of Donald
Okay.
Trump.
I mean, is there anyone
Do you
here? I
trust
know
our
I did an
government
episode
and
on
where
it.
the economy is heading?
Mute this. I know I did an episode on it. Like, I mean, they're the ones that are disrespecting the rule of law, right? Or did I misunderstand what that guy was saying? Was he not on Trump? Was he against Trump? I mean, you got to be able to criticize. You got to be able to criticize the government, right? You got to be able to criticize the election. What just happened? What did just happen? I think that guy just insulted Trump and said that Trump was in the wrong in that. That's crazy. That is crazy. What do you guys think so far? Got a couple minutes here. He's trying to distance himself from Trump. Why would you want to do that? You should be trying to make yourself as close to Trump as possible. Like, I mean, Trump's the front runner. Whatever, man. If you haven't liked the video, I'd really appreciate it if you did. Oh, let's listen to what
freedom for
Russell
being
Brand.
respected. I believe that ultimately and fundamentally, we can do this together without top-down authority, that we can regulate democratically our own community. You can be you, I can be me, without judgment, beyond acceptance, love, and enthusiasm for the billions of ways that it's possible to be a human being.
Yeah. Russell Brand, man. Big fan
When
of that guy.
Republicans vote early, we win.
You could bank your vote by casting
Trump
your
on
ballot
Tucker is out. I might do a
before
reaction
Election
for
Day.
Trump to
Either
Tucker,
early,
but
in person, or
can't
by
do it now.
mail.
I got to watch
Go
the rest of
to
these debates.
bankyourvote.com.
How long are these supposed to be?
Sign up and commit to voting early.
Thank you
That's
to
how
whoever
we're
just
gonna
liked the
beat
video. I
Democrats at their
appreciate
home
that.
game.
Appreciate you for liking it. Asa shouldn't be on stage. Yeah, that guy, Hutchinson, he shouldn't be on the stage. It's cancer to go after Trump this way. Yeah, I mean, like, no one's going to take him seriously if it's like that, as far as I know. Only way Christie can win this is if it becomes a hot dog eating contest. Oh my God, Craig. Everything you type is a banger, man. Jeez. Oh my gosh. Okay, so while we're in the meantime, Black Rifle Coffee Company. Not a fan. Yeah, I know a lot of you that are live already. You're already on the Patreon, but we got a few people on there. I'd recommend it. I'm doing $2 a month as an introductory rate to like build it up. Doing slightly extended episodes with just a little bit of extra information on there. And I'm probably going to make some more later. That's cool. Oops. Uh-oh. Who will get more views this debate? This debate or Trump and Tucker? I don't know. I mean, I would be watching. Oh, there's a comment section. I'm only watching this one because of Vivek. If not, I would be watching the Tucker one. But I want to see Vivek. Man, people are actually happy to root for Vivek or to root for DeSantis. Can't stand him. It was no mistake they were at the same time. Yeah, I mean, seriously, it was not a mistake. It was totally purposeful. You already sold me on the gold. I want the gold. By the way, we'll be doing another one of these just tomorrow night. We'll be doing a regular one, and this makes sense because I missed last week's. But tomorrow night, Brad Pierce and I will be talking about West Africa at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's tomorrow. Let's get back into this.
You all on China, Ukraine, immigration, education. But we are going to take a brief moment and talk about the elephant not in the room.
Former President Trump has been indicted in 4 different states on 91 counts. He will be processed tomorrow in
This is
Georgia
gonna be interesting.
at the Fulton County Jail for charges relating to the 2020 election loss.
You all signed a pledge to support the eventual Republican nominee. If former President Trump is convicted in a court of law, would you still support him as your party's choice? Please raise your hand if you would.
Look at that. They all raised their hand, but this shill on the far left. And Chris Christie is wagging his finger. Vivek put it up first.
You were kind of late to the game there, but you raised your hand.
No, I'm doing this. Look, I'm doing this.
And I
not
know
this.
you didn't.
Whoa. No, come.
What's
And
the
look,
Boo.
look, here's the bottom line. Someone's got to stop normalizing this conduct. Okay? Now, and
Normalizing
now,
what
whether or
conduct?
not-
We don't have
whether or
Epstein's
not
client list.
You believe that the
frickin'
criminal charges are right or wrong. The conduct is beneath the office of President of the United States.
So that means he should be arrested? What is this conduct crap? This is...
And you know, this is the great thing about this country. Booing is allowed, but it doesn't change the truth.
Boo. It doesn't change the truth. It's that people like you are in charge and you don't view people like us as
I'd like to
real individuals.
Let's just
Come
speak
on,
the truth,
man.
Okay, President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century. It's a fact. And Chris Christie, honest to God, your claim that Donald Trump is motivated by vengeance and grievance would be a lot more credible if your entire campaign were not based on vengeance and grievance against one man.
Yes.
People at home want to see a bunch of
Yes.
people blindly bashing Donald Trump without an iota of vision for this country. They could just change
Yep.
the channel to MSNBC right now. But I'm not running
Oh!
for president of MSNBC. I am running for president of the United States.
Oh my
We're
God.
skating on thin ice, and we cannot set a precedent where the party in power uses police force to indict its political opponents. It is wrong.
Yes.
We have to end the
Yes,
weaponization of
Vivek.
justice
Yeah, Christie
and
did
this
work for
country.
Trump
30
first.
seconds covered in a second.
You know, let me tell you
No, I'm sorry. 30 seconds covered.
You make me laugh because
Go,
you
go,
sit
go, brother.
here.
Let's hear
and
this.
You sit here and an answer.
He's getting shouted down by boos. Oh, it's frozen. What is happening? I don't think it's on my end.
You sit here and answer.
Go ahead.
He has nothing to say.
Hold on, Governor Christie.
Hold on.
He realizes they're
So
all
listen.
against him.
The more time we spend doing this, the less time they can talk about issues you want to talk about. So let's just get through this section. Governor Christie.
You sit here talking about how you want to stand up for the rule of law.
Yes.
And law and order. And the fact is that it can't be selective. In your book, you had much different things to say about Donald Trump than you're saying here tonight.
That's not true.
Well, it is very true.
That is not
It's
true.
very true. I read it,
Because
and
there's
I
a
know.
difference
It's
between
very
bad
true.
behavior
I
and
read it.
good
By the way,
behavior, Chris, and you as a
by the way,
prosecutor should know better.
you know what?
You should.
I know a lot
There's
better.
a difference between
I
bad
know,
behavior. And
I know a lot better than you do. You've never done it like you've.
I
never
know
done
better than you.
anything
Like
to
you've
try
never
to
done
advance
anything.
The interests of this government, except to put yourself forward as a candidate tonight. And here's the thing: we've stood up for law and order.
Nobody
I did it
cares
as
what he's
US
saying,
attorney.
man.
I did it as governor, and I am not going to bow to anyone when we have a president of the United States who disrespects the Constitution. He said.
Get your MSNBC contributors.
He said,
Okay, hold on.
now-
The fact is these are
he
politicized
said,
indictments.
Martha,
We have to call out the truth.
Martha, it's important to say that the president said, Donald Trump said, it's okay to suspend the Constitution. Now, the oath you take is to preserve, protect, and defend,
Oh my
not
God.
suspend. I will always
They're
stand up for our
practically-
Constitution,
they are
regardless of the
practically
political pressure.
We have another question for you.
Throwing
We're
aside the
gonna get
Constitution.
this
So it
issue,
doesn't
but
matter
another
if Trump
question.
said that because
Another
it's what they're
question.
doing in
Hold on, hold on.
actuality, regardless.
All right. So President Trump's former vice president is on this stage tonight. He has faced hecklers on the campaign trail over his actions on January the 6th. On that day, the vice president moved forward with the certification of the election. So do you believe
How much they paying you to make those
that
calls, ref?
Mike Pence did the right thing, Senator Scott? Do you believe he did the right thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
He did
you're
the
right,
thing.
baby.
Number one. Number two, We should be asking ourselves a bigger question about the weaponization of the Department of Justice. When I'm president, the first thing I'll do is fire Merrick Garland. Second thing I'll do, fire Christopher Wray, because we need Lady Justice to wear a blindfold. Without that, no one has confidence in our justice system. 17% of Republicans have confidence in our Department of Justice. Here's why. We keep seeing not only the weaponization of the Department of Justice against political opponents, but also against parents who show up at school board meetings. They're called, under this DOJ, they're called domestic terrorists.
Okay, thank you for that.
But that's not,
Thank you for bringing that up.
Actually have the courage to get it right.
Mr. Armstrong, let me finish my comments.
Yes.
Not only that, in addition to that, we see the SWAT team show up at pro-life activist homes with guns drawn because this DOJ uses their power, uses their authority, not just against political opponents, but against conservatives and conservative causes. It is time for a change in America, and I will bring that change to the greatest nation on God's green earth.
Greatest nation on God's green earth. I'll take that.
I believe that Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th.
So here's what we need to do. We need to end the weaponization of these federal agents.
But that's not
I
the
will do
question.
that.
That's not the question.
I know, but here's the thing.
You're gonna answer the
This
question?
election is not about January 6th of 2021. It's about January 20th of 2025 when the next president is going to take office. I know what the Democrats would like to do. They want to talk about all these other issues, but we've got to focus on your future. We've got to focus on reversing the decline of our country.
Right.
I learned in the military, I was assigned with U.S. Navy SEALs in Iraq, that you focus on the mission above all else. You can't get distracted. So Republicans, we've got to look forward, and we've got to make sure that we're bringing the message that can win in November
Did not answer
2021.
the question. Did not answer the question.
Vice President Pence,
The mission of the President
what
of
do
the
you think,
United
Vice
States
President?
is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I think the American people deserve to know whether everyone on this stage agrees that I kept my oath to the Constitution that day.
That's your perception of what you did.
Duty. So answer the question.
Every
answered this
every election in my
before.
lifetime has been
Mike did his duty.
cut
I
up.
got no beef with him. But here's the thing: is this
All right.
what we're
Well,
going
that
to be
answers the
focusing
question,
on
doesn't it?
going forward? The rehashing of this, I'll tell you,
Governor
the
DeSantis.
Democrats would love that, and they
Yeah.
would win if we.
No, I actually agree with him here.
I'm not letting Biden hang out in the basement this time. We're going to run him ragged around this country, and we're going to hold him accountable.
Let me just say, Governor DeSantis, we spent an hour talking about policy. Former President Trump is beating you by 30, 40 points in many polls. So it is a factor in the GOP primary. Governor Hutchinson, you did not raise your hand.
I did not raise my hand because
this
there's
guy
an
shouldn't
important
be
issue
speaking.
we as a party have to face. And over a year ago, I said that Donald Trump was
His
morally
eyes
disqualified
look black.
from being
He
president
looks
again
evil.
as a result of what happened on January 6th. More people are
That's
understanding the
undemocratic,
importance
okay?
of that, including conservative legal scholars who says he may be disqualified under the 14th Amendment from being president again.
Ridiculous.
As a result of the insurrection. This is something that could disqualify him under our rules and under the Constitution. And so obviously I'm not going to support somebody who's been convicted of a serious felony or who is disqualified under our Constitution. And that's consistent with RNC rules. And I hope everybody would agree with me.
We're going to get to a lot more time. We're going to move on. No, we're going to.
Martha, can I answer the question?
Can I get in on it?
Okay. I'd like
Can
to
I get
answer-
in?
I've already been on it, Vice President Pence.
All right. I'd like to answer the question
Go
you
ahead.
asked and not give a pre-canned speech. Mike Pence stood for the Constitution.
This is some
And he
bullshit.
deserves not grudging
Chris
credit.
Christie
He
sucks.
deserves our thanks as Americans for putting
I'm starving
his
because
oath
Chris
of office
Christie ate all my
and the
food.
Constitution of the United States before personal, political, and unfair
away.
pressure. And the argument that we need to have in this party before we can move on to the issues that Ron talked about is we have to dispense with the person who said that we need to suspend the Constitution to put forward his political career. Mike Pence said no, and he deserves credit for it.
Okay. Governor Haley, we haven't heard from you this.
Are they cheering for him for that? Is that good?
Do you agree that Vice President Pence did the right thing that day or not?
I do think that Vice President Pence did the right thing. And I do think that we need to give him credit for that. But what I will also tell you is, look, I mean, when it comes to whether President Trump should serve or not, I trust the American people. Let them vote. Let them decide. But what they will tell you is
That's the
that
only
it
right
is
answer.
time for a new generational conservative leader.
Which
We
is
have to look
Vivek
at the fact that
Ramaswamy.
3/4 of Americans
Not
don't
this
want
lady.
a rematch between Trump and Biden. And we have to face the fact that Trump is the most disliked politician in America. We can't
That's not
win
true.
a general election
Are you
that
serious?
way.
You're going to say that? That's not true. They just say Constitution. They don't mean anything about the
Answer the question.
Constitution.
Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. But
Now
I
that
wanna
this
say, you
guy's
started
just,
off the
I
top
don't
of
care
this
about this
hour
guy.
saying we're going to talk about
I've said it a few
China,
times, but every time I
Ukraine,
say it, more
education.
people like it. So
China
please
is the
like this
number
video.
one
I
threat to
appreciate
our
it.
country.
Whoever
and
Doug
every minute
Burgum is,
that
who
these
cares?
candidates spend talking about the past instead about the future is time that it's just you know who loves it? Biden loves it, but China loves it when we're talking about the past.
Okay, as promised, we were going to spend a few questions on it, let people say what they wanted to say, and now, indeed, we are moving on to the subject.
The U.S. has committed nearly 77.
Can I speak on this issue? I was
You
kind of
did
involved.
you answered on this.
You did
You did
say
answer.
something.
Yeah.
We thought you were done, but you
No, I
please.
wasn't done.
Well, Mike,
No,
why don't you
no,
say
I
this? Join me
wasn't
in
done.
making a commitment
It's
that
low
on day
energy
one you
Mike
would
Pence
pardon
now.
Donald Trump.
Now
I'm
that
the only
Jeb's on a
candidate on the
freaking
stage
ranch
who
somewhere.
had the courage to actually say it. That is how we move our nation forward
I don't know
and
why
turn the
you
page
assume that
forward. That's
Donald
exactly
Trump
right.
will be convicted of these crimes.
You should be able to make a commitment. The same justice system that was this
Vivek, here's
corrupt.
the difference between you and me.
I'm not a professional politician. That's
Mike
the
Pence
difference.
has no
Answer.
integrity.
I've
That's the
actually
difference.
given pardons when I was governor of the state of Indiana. It usually follows a finding of guilt and contrition by the individual that's been convicted. So, if I'm president of the United States, we'll give fair consideration to any pardon request. But if I may,
Ridiculous.
you know, it's not about looking back at January 2021. It's about January 20th, 2017. I put my left hand on Ronald Reagan's Bible. I raised my right hand. And I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And it ended with a prayer, so help me God. It was a promise that I made to the American people, but I also made it to my Heavenly Father. Every day for 4 years, I sought to keep that oath. And everyone on this stage needs to make it clear whether or not they'll do the same if they earn this job and the confidence of the American people. Now, look, I've made it clear. I had hoped that the issues surrounding
this guy's from another era.
the 2020 election and the controversies around January 6th had not come to this, had not come to criminal proceedings.
Get out.
I would rather they had been resolved by the American people and the American
just letting
people
them
alone.
talk.
But no one's above the law. And President Trump is entitled to the presumption of innocence that every American is entitled to. And we will make sure and extend that to him. But the American people deserve to know that the president asked me in his request that I reject or return votes unilaterally, power that no vice president in American history had ever
Why are they letting him talk?
exercised or taken. He asked me to put him over the
The
Constitution.
bell was a full minute ago.
And I chose the Constitution.
No, you
and
chose
I
your
always
interpretation
will.
of the
I had no
Constitution.
right to overturn the election, and Kamala Harris will have no right to overturn the election when we beat them in 2024.
Thank you, Vice President Pence.
I mean, dude, I don't know.
Now, we are
I don't really
moving on
know.
to other
This stuff's way too confusing to me. So I
The
don't.
U.S. has
I'm not
committed
sure
nearly $77 billion in aid
if there
to
was
the Ukraine war.
wrong play or
The
not. But I'm not
administration is
assuming
now
there
asking
wasn't.
Congress for
I just don't
$24
know.
billion more. Regardless of that, the specifics of that plan, is there anyone on stage who would not support the increase of more
Seriously.
funding to Ukraine?
We would not support it.
Yes, Vivek. Vivek is on it. This is what. Look, our political system is built for something that is slower. But Vivek Ramaswamy, he is our guy. He is the guy that is
Right
quick.
now, they're
He's
not
ready
doing
to
that,
make
and I
quick
think we
decisions
want to,
like
and
we
I think
need
Our support should be contingent
in
on them
the
doing
21st
it.
century.
And I would have support in China to be able to take China.
Everything
and
Vivek
do what
says
we need
is
to
a
do with
banger.
China.
He's like Craig in the
Mr.
comment
Ramaswamy, You
section.
would not support an increase of funding to Ukraine.
He's funny
I
too.
would not.
No,
And I
no
think
increase
this
of funding.
is disastrous.
Yes,
Real protective
yes, Vivek.
is to
America
invasion across
first.
somebody else's border when we should use those same military resources to prevent across the invasion of our own southern border here in the United States.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
We are driving Russia further into China's hands.
That's what's happening.
The Russia-China alliance is the single greatest threat we face.
It
I
is,
find
and it's
offensive
easy.
that we have professional politicians on the stage that will make a pilgrimage to Kyiv, to their Pope, Zelensky, without doing the same thing for people in Maui or the south side of Chicago
all right.
Yep.
or Kensington.
Yep.
I think that we have to put the interests of Americans first. Secure our own border instead of somebody else's.
He was referring.
And the reality is, this is also
He
how
was
we
referring
project
to me.
strength
Shut up,
by
dude.
making America strong.
Let him cook, and he can keep talking when they're talking over him.
All right. Look, I did go to Ukraine, and I went to Ukraine because I wanted to see for myself.
What part of Ukraine?
what
They have an all-you-can-eat
Vladimir
buffet
Putin's
over there
army
on a beach?
was doing to the free
This guy.
Ukrainian people. And let me
The
tell
free
you,
Ukrainian
I want you
people?
all to look around this arena tonight and imagine that every one of these seats was filled. And if every one of them was filled, there would still be 2,500 more children outside to make over 20,000 who have been abducted, stolen, ripped from their mothers and fathers, and brought back to Russia to be programmed to fight their own families. They have gouged out people's eyes, cut off their ears, and shot people in the back of the head,
Chill
men,
out.
and then gone into those homes and raped the daughters and the wives who were left as widows and orphans.
Okay.
This
I mean,
is
I'm sure
is
that's
the
happened.
Vladimir Putin.
But
is
this
the
war
Vladimir
doesn't need to be
Putin
happening at all.
Who Donald Trump called
You are making
brilliant
this war happening.
and a genius. If we don't stand up against this type of autocratic killing in the world, we will be next.
That was crazy, man. That was crazy.
President Pence was mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
Yeah, well, let me
That was
be
crazy,
clear.
right?
Anybody that thinks that we can't solve the problems here in the United States and be the leader of the free world has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth.
What are you talking about? A small view? No, we just want our taxes to go to our people who are suffering.
World and the arsenal of democracy for years. The Reagan Doctrine years ago made it clear. We said, if you're willing to fight the communists on your soil, we'll give you the means to fight them there so our troops don't have to fight them. Vivek, if we do the giveaway that you want to give to Putin to give him his land, it's not going to be too long before he rolls across a NATO border. And frankly,
Dude,
our men
this
and
is
women
the
of our armed
same
forces are gonna have
argument
to go and fight him.
they
I wanna let the
made
Ukrainians fight
during.
and
Come on,
drive
dude.
Putin and the Russians.
The Russians are not coming here.
I want to just briefly address Pence.
That's what they said during the war on terror.
The USSR does not exist anymore. It fell back in 1990.
Did I say
the real
USSR?
threat? You talked about the communists, and the real communists that we have to address
Do you
right
not
now
have any
is the
idea what Vladimir Putin's aims
you
are?
already spoke. Now I actually have something to say.
Vladimir Putin has been saying he wants to reestablish the old Soviet
This is Vivek's
sphere
time.
of
Your point,
influence.
Vice President.
Now, if you think I'm sorry if I insulted him by calling him a communist.
Give him some time.
He is a dictator and a murderer, and the United States of America needs to stand against authoritarianism.
Mr. Ramaswamy, 30 seconds.
The real threat we face today is communist China. And we are driving Russia further into
Yep.
China's arms.
That's exactly what's
The
happening.
Russia-China military
This
alliance
is an
the
exploitable
single greatest
difference.
threat we face. Nobody in either political party is talking about it. And I am the only non-neocon on this stage who will keep us out of war.
Mr. Vice President, we can't hear. Mr. Vice President,
is to give Russia
Mr. Vice
everything
President.
they've got.
Mr. Vice President.
Give them a promise that Ukraine will
Dude,
never be in
he just
NATO,
keeps talking.
and
They
then
let him talk
somehow
way after his thing.
China will not think about taking Taiwan. We achieve
Oh my
peace
God.
through strength.
Peace through strength. This is not 1984. What are you talking? Why are people cheering this?
I think we need to.
Am I crazy here? Does anyone in the comments disagree with me?
Hear this bell.
Yes.
That means your time's done. So
Kick
Mr. Vice
Pence
President,
off.
we
Just
appreciate
kick him
your
off.
aggressiveness
He's not
here.
listening to you at all.
30 seconds is 30 seconds. Mr. Ramaswamy, you were mentioned. You get 30 seconds.
So the reality is that today, Ukraine is not a priority for the United States of America. And I think that the same people who took us into the Iraq War, the same people who took us into the Vietnam War, you cannot start another no-win war. And I do not want to get to the point where we're sending our military resources abroad when we could be better using them here at home to protect our own borders, protect the homeland.
All right.
That will be my top priority in foreign policy.
Yes.
Protect this
than the 30
homeland.
seconds in the rebuff.
No,
I
you
do
did
wanna get to some
not
other
give him
people
more than 30
because
seconds.
we respect everybody's time here. So, Governor Haley, you
Yeah,
did
I
not
don't
raise your
understand.
hand,
They're
meaning that you
booing him.
would support more funding for the Ukraine war. You have said of Governor DeSantis that you didn't appreciate it when he initially called it a territorial dispute. Why?
First of all, the American president needs to have moral clarity. They need to know the difference between right and wrong. They need to know the difference
right and
between
wrong.
good and evil.
Good and evil. We're
When
the
you
good guys.
look at
They're the evil
situation
guys.
with Russia
We get to
and
do whatever we
Ukraine,
want,
here you
right,
have
Haley?
a pro-American country that was invaded by a thumb.
Pro-American?
So when you want to talk about what has been given to Ukraine, less than 3.5% of our defense budget has been given to Ukraine. If you look at the percentages per GDP, 11 of the European countries have given more than the US. But what's really important is go back to when China and Russia held hands, shook hands before the Olympics, and named themselves unlimited partners. A win for Russia is a win for China. We have to know that. Ukraine is the first line of defense for us. And the problem that Vivek doesn't understand is he wants to hand Ukraine to Russia. He wants to let China eat Taiwan. He wants to go
Let
and
China
stop
eat
funding
Taiwan?
Israel.
Is
You
that
don't
racist?
do that to friends. What
Yeah,
you
stop
do
funding
instead is
Israel.
You have the backs
Yes.
of your friends. Ukraine is the front line of defense. Putin has said, once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today.
He never wanted to
killed
take.
Prigozhin. When I
He
was
killed
at the UN,
Prigozhin?
the
Did
Russian
that happen?
ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing
Yeah, what
a
happened at
murderer
Obama's
over
estate?
a pro-American country.
First of all, Mr. Ramaswamy, you have 30 seconds. Mr. DeSantis,
Nikki, I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
Oh!
Fact of the matter,
And you know,
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week,
You want
Nikki.
to go and defund Israel? You want
Yeah,
to
defund
address
Israel.
that.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Go and give
I'm going to
Ukraine
address
Russia?
each of those right now. This is the false lies of a professional politician. There you have it.
Your watch,
So the
you will
reality
make
is,
America less safe. You have no
Let me-
foreign policy experience, and it shows.
and you know what? The
It
foreign
shows.
policy experience that you all have
What?
shows in the pointless wars we've gotten into.
These people are all neocons in the comments here. Hey, what's up, Chase? Dude, these people are all for wars, even after all this stuff that we had in the wars on terror.
Friends help each other stand on their own 2 feet. So I will lead Abraham Accords 2.0. I will partner with Israel to make sure Iran never is nuclear armed. But you know what I love about Israel? And I've been there probably in the last 10 years more than most people on this stage. You know what I love about them? I love their border policies. I love their tough on crime policies.
I love their border
that
policies,
They have a
yeah.
national identity
And a
an
national
iron
identity.
dome to protect their homeland. And so, yes, I want to learn
Yes.
from the friends that we're supporting. And what puzzles
you wanna
me
cut the
is,
aid
I want to
off.
learn
And
from
let me
those and
tell
apply
you,
those to protect
it's
our
not
homeland,
that
Nikki.
Israel
That is
needs
the answer.
America.
Can we
America
move on?
needs Israel.
Why does America need Israel?
Governor DeSantis, you were
They're the
mentioned
front line of Iran is not our enemy,
only,
dude.
No, it's not a territorial dispute
President of the
either.
United States, your first obligation is to defend our country and its people. And that means
Yes, our country and its
you're
people.
sending all this money, but you're not doing what we need to do to secure our own border. We have tens of thousands of people
We can
who
do
are
both
being
at the
killed because,
same
well, we're
time.
not handling both. And so
We can do both at the same time. What are you talking about, dude? We're drowning.
I'm not going to send
Let's find
troops to
out. I'm gonna
Ukraine, but I
Google
am gonna
how
send
much
them to our
Nikki
southern
Haley-
border. When these drug pushers are bringing fentanyl across the border, that's going to be the last thing they do.
See if
We're
Nikki
gonna
Haley
use
takes
force,
money
and we're
from
gonna
defense
leave them
companies.
stone cold dead.
We're actually going to move on to China. We're going to talk about China.
Let's talk about China.
Governor Burgum, China has the biggest navy in the world, the biggest army in the world. Now they have warships off the coast of Alaska. They are threatening Taiwan. In coming years, China will have 1,500 nuclear warheads, it's believed. The U.S. just arrested 2 sailors accused of spying for China within our military. So the question is, how would you deter China as a president, Burgum?
Well, this is the number one
I'm going to mute because I don't care what Burgum has to say. I'm going to share this tab. Let's look at this. Miss Haley listed a dozen speaking engagements, for each of which she reported an honorarium between $100,000 and $1 and $1 million. Events at the Center for Israeli Jewish Affairs in Montreal, Barclays Service Corporation, that's a bank or something, and Water Street Healthcare Partners in Chicago. Yeah. So United Homes, this is a home builder, took $300,000. Great Southern Homes. If you want something done. But yeah, she took money from Prism. I don't know what that is. Oh, $250,000 in stock from Boeing. Fantastic. That's what we're doing. $250,000. But yeah, the Center for Israel and Jewish Affairs in Montreal. Not even American. It's Canadian. Close enough. It's basically a little thing. She resigned from the Boeing board. Oh, so she was on the Boeing board in 2020. So that's what we're talking about. Jeez. Come on, man. So he was right. Literally. He probably didn't even know that. These people just want more wars. This guy is still talking. Can you? Oh, you can't see the debate. My bad. My bad. Sorry. There we go.
Fire the 87,000 IRS agents.
Can you guys hear? Is everything good now?
Or double
Also,
the
please
number
like the
of Border
comment
Patrol
or
agents.
like the
I
video.
just left Yuma, Arizona about 2 weeks ago. The most pressing need of the American people from a national security standpoint is our southern border. It has led to the death of 70,000 Americans because of fentanyl. Plus 6 million illegal crossings since President Biden has taken office, and 200 people on our national security watch list have been caught at our border. How many have not been caught at our southern border? If we just spend $10 billion, we could finish the wall. For $5 billion more, we could have the military-grade technology to surveil our southern border to stop the flow of fentanyl and save 70,000 Americans a year.
They met their black quota, huh? Yeah.
Priority of this.
Yeah, Larry Elder didn't make the
government.
cut,
As the next
unfortunately.
president of the United States, I will make that border wall complete.
There are many more questions on China. I do want to ask about.
I want to
Oh,
say
yeah, they were
I couldn't
talking about
agree
China.
more.
I want to
It's
say
not just the 70,000 from fentanyl. We've lost 200,000 people to overdoses since Biden took office. That's 300 people a day. We're taking mass casualties, and that's a statistic, but these are sons and daughters, nieces and nephews that we're losing. We've got North Dakota troops down there flying night helicopter missions from San Diego to the Gulf Coast, trying to stop these transnational criminal organizations. They've got better funding on their side than we've got on our side.
Speaking of which, Governor Hutchinson, images from earlier this month, Governor Hutchinson,
with Mexico,
Vice President Pence.
Oh my God,
Images
Pence
from
just
earlier
thinks he
this
can keep
month.
talking.
Vice President
Kick him
Pence,
off.
It really doesn't help. I'm asking a question. Earlier this month, images showed suspected cartel members crossing into Texas with rifles.
Yeah, all the time.
Do
I'm sure they are.
you consider this
And then it's
an
just
invasion?
racist if you talk about it.
Would you authorize lethal force along that border?
There would be lethal force used
bet Larry
by
Elder did
the
meet the
Border
requirements.
Patrol.
I don't know why they didn't let him in. They let everyone else in.
As needed to protect the border. Absolutely. When you look at the military has to be used for intelligence.
Why are they letting this
gathering
dude talk?
Purposes. This
I
is
want Larry
not
Elder instead of this
unusual.
guy. I like
Whenever
Larry Elder.
I was in the Bush administration.
You
we
were
went
being
down
in the
there,
Bush
met
administration
with
should
President
just
Vicente Fox of
stop you
Mexico
from
and
being
asked
here.
his
Like you
help
should
in
not
going
be
after
here
the
if you were a big
cartels.
part of the Bush
And
administration.
he looked at me and said, they're a problem to us as well. And so we joined together and we took down the Ariana Felix brothers leading the Tijuana cartel. And that made a difference. Ramon was shot and killed and Ben Amin was captured. Cooperation makes a difference. We cannot be successful going against the cartel unless we
So apparently
bring
Larry
in
Elder is
Mexico as a partner. We have to use economic pressure to accomplish that. President Obrador has not been helpful, and we have to use economic pressure that this administration is not using. The rule of law has to matter on both sides of it.
Okay.
This is critical I've done it. We know what needs to be done. The military has to be limited in its use. When after 9/11, we had the global war on terror, and guess what? We protected the border at the same time. You can do both.
This guy has evil
Okay,
eyes.
let's go to Governor DeSantis. So, as president,
They're both good,
would
though.
you
Two
support
announcers.
sending U.S. Special
Just out there doing their
Forces
best. She's got
over the border
thin lips, though.
into Mexico to take out
She didn't get fake
fentanyl
ones.
labs, to take out drug cartel operations? Would you support that kind of American military use?
Yes, and I will do it on day one. Here's the thing. The cartels are killing tens of thousands of our fellow citizens. You want to talk about a country in decline? You have the cartels controlling a lot of part of your southern border. We have to reestablish the rule of law, and we have to defend our people. The President of the United States has got to use all available powers as Commander-in-Chief to protect our country and to protect the people. So when they're coming across, yes, we're going to use lethal force. Yes, we reserve the right to operate. How many more tens of thousands are we going to let to die? I am sick. I've met angel moms throughout this country. I met a lady in Texas named Tracy, and her son took one Percocet that was laced with fentanyl, immediately died. That is happening all across this country because of the poison that they are bringing in.
Where
So
did
as
he get
president, would I use force? Would I treat them as foreign terrorist organizations? You're darn right I would.
You know, Vice President
You're
Pence,
darn right I would. Sounded like a nerd at the end
Vice
there.
President Pence, why
I
would
mean,
you
that's
be
good.
better at this
That's great,
issue
but he
than
really
Governor
weakened his
DeSantis?
point
Governor
by
DeSantis
sounding
on
like
the
a
campaign
freaking
trail
dweeb, dude.
refers to your administration as not finishing the wall.
Right.
No, I like DeSantis more than I have any
Look.
other point tonight.
We secured the
I like
southern
him,
border
number
of the
two.
United States of America
Gosh darn
and
diggity.
reduced illegal immigration and asylum abuse by 90%.
That's true. They did do that.
When Joe Biden took over, he threw open the southern border of the
Yes.
United States, and the wave of humanity, the wave of fentanyl.
Yeah, Joe
it's been
Biden really has
eloquently
to
described
open
here
that up.
Is a
What
wave
else
of human
is supposed to say
tragedy
about
across
that?
this country. But Martha, you began this evening talking about who is best prepared to be the next president of the United States. And I have to tell you, with all humility, I was there when we
He talks too slow.
negotiated through the government shutdown and got the funding available to build the wall. I was negotiating on Capitol Hill around the clock. I negotiated the Remain in Mexico policy on behalf of the President of the United States. And AC, you're so right. It's because we used economic pressure to bring the Mexicans to the table, and they allowed us to have people wait in Mexico while they applied for asylum and ended asylum abuse overnight. We got the Mexicans to deploy their National Guard to their southern border and to our southern border as never before. And I want to promise you, as President of the United States of America, I will engage Mexico the exact same way, and we will partner.
Well, this guy wants to
with the
engage
Mexican
Mexico.
military.
I thought that he
and
was
we will
against
hunt
interracial
down
marriage.
and destroy the cartels that are claiming lives in the United
Hunt
States.
down and
Okay,
destroy the cartels? What are you
issue that is
talking about, dude?
related to this
You can't go to war
is
with the
that almost
cartels.
7
Are you
million
serious?
Migrants have
Do people think
crossed
that's
this
feasible?
border, our southern border,
You have to
during
fix
the Biden administration.
they're basically
So,
the
Governor
governments
Christie,
in large
what
parts of
would you
Mexico.
do
That's an
about
insane
the
thing to
7
say.
million
Like, there's no
who
way.
are here?
It wouldn't
How
even
would you
work.
handle them? What would you do?
Look, Martha, the first thing we need to do is to stop any more from coming. That's the first thing we need to do. Then the next thing we need to do with the folks that are here is to,
Davey's right.
again, as
Trump
we've
did
talked
that,
about
not
all
Pence.
night tonight. We have to have law and order in this country. We have to enforce the law. And what that means is to make sure that people who come here illegally are not rewarded for being here illegally. We have so many wonderful people from around the world who are waiting in line, following the law to try to come here and pursue the American dream. And those people are waiting and waiting and waiting because we haven't dealt with the problem of the folks who are here. We have to have them detained. We have to make sure that they are not rewarded for having broken the law. And one last thing on this fentanyl issue. With China, we can't take our eye off of that ball.
Right.
Yes, it's important that we secure the border. Very important, as I just said. But China is sending these chemicals to these drug cartels for them to create the fentanyl that is killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens. The Chinese are engaging in an act of war
Is the
against
Chinese?
us,
Is it
killing
really?
our citizens. We better make that priority one in
So the
our
Chinese are
conversations
engaging
with
in
China
active war.
and to try to straighten that relationship out, because if we don't, we're going to lose more and more of our
I
citizens.
just want to clarify. Would you send those people back?
Of course. You'd have to.
We have a lot of issues that Americans care about. Next up, we're going to talk about the crisis in education.
Okay, so they're going to go to, I'm just going to go use the bathroom, and I think I'm going to grab a beer. But everyone hang out, please. Ask any questions you'd like in the chat, either about the podcast or anything you'd like to, or about the debates or whatever. I will be back in just a couple minutes. I'm waiting for a pizza guy to show up and give Christy a pizza on stage. I could really go for a pizza. Oh my God, guys. Okay. Getting naked and giving rich men north of Richland. North of Richland? If you're going to insult me, at least do it right. Bury the evidence. Dude, I can just scroll up. What are you doing? And I don't care. You can say whatever you want. Cleveland. I got to mark this to cut out the ad. Oh, here we go.
The nation's report card was the weakest ever for American school children, exposing chronic absenteeism, deep declines for reading and math for 15-year-olds and 13-year-olds. Governor DeSantis, you would eliminate, you said, the Department of Education. But as president,
Eliminate the Department
would
of
you still have
Education.
a responsibility to fix this crisis
Did better
as we see it?
before, dude.
Absolutely. The
The-
decline in education
Dude, it's because of
is
the
one of the
Department of
major
Education.
reasons why our country is in decline. We need education in this country, not indoctrination in this country. And in Florida,
Hell yes, DeSantis.
we
DeSantis has
stood
grown
up for
on
what
me,
was
man.
right. First, we had schools open
It's,
during COVID, and a lot of the problems that we've seen are because these lockdown states lock their kids out of school for a year, year and a half. That was wrong. We stood up. I took a lot of fire for that. I was pilloried by the media, but I stood for our kids. And as president, I'll stand for you and your kids as well. But we have to make sure that what our schools are doing is focusing on solid academics. In Florida, we eliminated critical race theory from our K through 12 schools. We eliminated gender ideology from our K through 12 schools. And we have elevated the importance of American civics and teaching our kids about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. As president, I'm going to lead an effort to increase civic understanding and knowledge of our Constitution. We cannot be graduating students that don't have any foundation in what it means to be an American.
Mr. Ramaswamy, Mr. Ramaswamy.
That's
Mr.
true. But they are
Mr.
teaching
Ramaswamy,
what
hold
it
on,
means to be
Senator Scott.
American in the
You
libtard
said
schools,
that
but
the
they're
Department of
doing it.
Education, the FBI,
They're teaching
the
you it's
ATF,
like
the Nuclear
multiculturalism
Regulatory
is
Commission,
Americanism.
The
It's a
IRS,
bunch
the
of
Department of
nonsense.
Commerce, many of these
Remember,
should
I have
not
a
exist.
bachelor's degree in
So
educational
to the
curriculum.
education question, how would you deal with
I
the
don't
crisis?
seem like it.
So look, we have a crisis of achievement. Let's shut down the head of the snake, the Department of Education.
Shut down the
Take that
Department of
$80 billion,
Education.
Put it in the hands of parents across this country. This is the civil rights issue of our time. Allow any parent to choose where they send their kids to school. End the teachers' unions at the local level to allow public schools to compete.
Yeah.
And then revive our national identity where every high school senior should have to pass the same civics test that frankly every immigrant, including my mother, had to pass in order to become a citizen of this country. And the fact of the matter is, look, there's a part of education policy that also rests with the family. I didn't grow up in money, but you know the word privilege gets used a lot. Well, you know what? I did have the ultimate privilege of two parents in the house with a focus on educational achievement. And I want every kid to enjoy that. So part of the problem is we also have a federal government that pays single women more not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house.
He's a Brahmin.
Contributing to an epidemic of fatherlessness. And I think that goes
He's right about
hand in
that.
glove with the
They
education
incentivize
crisis as well,
fatherlessness.
because we have to remember education starts with the family, and the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind.
Governor Burgum, Governor Haley has said.
Seriously,
Governor
right
Haley
there.
has said that biological boys playing in girls' sports is the women's issue of our time. You said that even though you signed a ban on this in North Dakota, that there hadn't been one instance where it was actually needed. Are you saying that you think that too much is made of this issue?
No, I'm saying in North Dakota, we made a priority of protecting women's sports, and we've done that in our state. But I would absolutely do that. But I do think when we start talking about education and we think that we're going to have a federal government one size fits all, we're just completely losing track of the fact that education differs by states. Some school districts are doing a fantastic job, some less so. But the idea that every school district, state, and every teacher is somehow indoctrinating people is just false. You know, when I was
Dude, come
building a
on.
company from scratch, you know, with
Wait,
small
let's
town
talk about
kids,
this
we went,
practically,
you know,
though.
grew up in a town of 300, but we
Not
built a
everybody is
global
doing that,
company
sure, but
in
and the Department of
132
Education anyway.
countries
Why are
with
you?
over 100,000 customers. We listened to those customers. We spent time with them. We talked to them. We did that. And as governor, well, education is one of the biggest part of a state budget. So as a governor, I shadow a student. I don't, the night before I find out the student finds out, I'm going to go to every class with them. I don't sit and lecture school districts how to do it. I go and see the experience. And there's a lot of things that have to change. But what needs to change in education is it's innovation. We're doing it the same way we did it 50 years ago with
No, we're
innovation,
not.
not
What are you-
regulation.
no, we're not.
I would get rid of the Department of Education.
We were doing
I
it
would
better
give
50
block
years
grants
ago
to schools, but I'd
when
give
we
them
didn't have
on
Department of
merit based on
Education.
who's doing the most innovative. I just got done done holding the 7th annual Governor's Conference on Innovation Education. You should see what the people are doing
Dude,
when you get
they're
cut
too
loose to red
innovative.
tape,
They're
get the
too
burden
much
off their
changing the
back.
rules. This
They
guy is
care.
just wrong.
Teachers in this country, the vast majority of them care about those kids. They're working in low-paying jobs, and they're fighting.
What
for
is
those
a
kids.
low-paying job? The average income in this country is $35,000 a year.
First, I'll tell
Thing.
you, as you know, as a
Fact check
parent,
that.
the one thing you want is for your child to have a better life than you did.
I spilled.
And we can talk about all of these things, and
Crap.
there's a lot of crazy woke things happening in schools, but we've got to
Damn
get
it.
these kids reading. If a child can't read by 3rd grade, they're 4 times less likely to graduate high school. So we need to make sure we bring in reading remediation all over this country. We need transparency in the classroom because parents should never have to wonder what's being said or taught to their children in the classroom. Parents need to be deciding.
What did
which schools their
Neocon
kids
Nikki
go
say
to
while I
because
was
they
gone?
know best. And let's put vocational classes back into the high schools. Let's teach our kids to build things again. When we do that and we allow that innovation, that's when it'll get back. And yes, I will always say I'm going to fight for girls all day long because strong girls become strong women become strong leaders, and biological boys don't belong in the locker rooms of any of our girls.
We're going to start the lightning round, and the first question is going to go to you, Vice President. So this is a lightning round of questions, 30-second answers.
The lightning
please.
round. This is not going to happen.
President Biden will be 82 years old on Inauguration Day. Nearly 70% of Americans say that he is too old to serve. Should presidents have to pass a mental and physical test in order to serve, Vice President Pence?
Well, it might be a good idea to have everybody in Washington, D.C. pass a mental and. But
You'd be the first
30
one to go.
seconds, no, the American people can make those judgments. But let me say, I'm running for president of the United States because we don't need a president who's too old, and we don't need a president who's too young.
Oh, and he's just right. Mike Pence is the Goldilocks number, huh?
How Congress works, how the White House works, how states work. And on this education issue, Martha, I was fighting against No Child
One
Left
lady was just
Behind when
yelling.
Republicans were doubling the Department of Education. I'll also shut down the federal Department of Education. And when I was governor,
Everybody wants
we
to shut down
doubled
the
the
Department of
size
Education.
of the largest school choice program in America. And we'll give school choice to every family in America.
So
when I'm in
Take
the White
that.
House.
This is a lightning round, Mr. Ramaswamy. I think you were mentioned there. You're 38. You're the youngest on the stage. You've said, and you just said, you want a civics test or public service for those under 25 to be able to vote. So the question is, do you want a mental acuity test for presidents over 75?
I believe in the people of this country to tell the difference between somebody who's an automaton and somebody who's actually a thinking agent in the White House,
Yes.
which we don't have in there
Vivek.
today. And I will tell you, I want to address Vice President Pence's comment. I think we do need somebody of a different generation to lead this nation forward. Look at the way I've run this campaign. Going to the south side of Chicago, to Kensington, in the middle of Philadelphia, where traditional Republican candidates don't go. We have an opportunity to build a multi-ethnic working class majority to deliver a
Multi-ethnic
landslide. And I
working
think I'm the
class
only
majority.
candidate in this race, young
Yep.
or old, black or white,
That's
to
what we
bring
want.
all of those voters along to deliver a Reagan 1980 revolution. We're going to do it in 2024.
Same question.
Okay. Vivek.
I will answer that. I will answer that.
Because the system is screwed up. Of course. Dude, Pence won't shut up. Cut that old mother.
This is a lightning round.
Cut his
not
mic
Rolling
off.
Thunder.
Mike
Governor
Pence.
Hutchinson, you have 30 seconds on the same question.
On education, first of all, look at Arkansas. We have to compete with
Dude,
China.
shut
I built
up.
Computer science education. We led the nation in computer science education, going from 1,100 students to 23,000 students taking it. This is how you compete with China. As President of the United States, I will make sure we go from 51% of our schools offering computer science to every school in rural areas and urban areas offering computer science for the benefit of our kids, and we can compete with China in terms of technology.
Thank
Dude,
you, sir.
shut up.
This is going to go to this is coming to you. We're trying to do a quick round of different topics here. So,
Pence,
Senator Scott,
shut up.
faith is on decline in this country. You talked about it a little bit before tonight. So, is there a role for a president of the United States in changing that? What would you do to change that?
Well, our nation was founded upon the Judeo-Christian values that has made this the greatest nation on God's green
What
earth.
does
I'm a big
Judeo-Christian
believer
mean?
in Ephesians
It's not a
3:20 that
thing.
God is
It's
able to do
created
exceedingly abundantly
in the
above all that we
1950s.
ask or imagine. Our responsibility
We need
should be to
trapdoors if
model
you
the
keep talking after
behavior
your time.
we want others to
Yes,
follow.
that's what I want.
On education, the only way we change education in this nation is to break the backs of the teachers' unions. They are standing in the doorhouse of our kids, locking them into failing schools and locking them out of the greatest future they could have.
All right, Tim Scott.
As President,
It's
Governor
pretty boring,
DeSantis, would you
but I
support
like
some
him.
mandatory military service for all Americans?
I think it should be voluntary. I'm somebody that volunteered to serve, inspired by September 11th, and I deployed to Iraq alongside U.S. Navy SEALs in places like Fallujah, Ramadi. And it's something that I think has taught me, you know, when you go in that type of environment, anything you have, your personal agenda, you check it at the door. You go there, and it's about focusing on the mission above all else. And guys come together, and they get it done. And that's how I would view being the president of the United States. It's not about me. It's not about all these other side issues. My sole focus will be on your future and reversing this country's decline.
Okay, now for something
Okay.
a little out of this world, and
Good
this
one.
is for you, Governor Christie. Do you believe that the recent spike in UFO encounters?
What?
I get the UFO question.
Why are they giving the UFO question to Christie? He said, "Come on, man."
Okay, we've been hearing a lot of testimony in Congress, and people are taking this a lot more seriously. And we're hearing that, you know, there are things going on that people aren't aware of. So,
Chase is right.
if you were president,
It's a psyop.
Governor Christie, would you level with the American people about what the government knows
The fact.
about
wh-
these
wh-
possible?
Why are you asking this question? We have real issues in
And
this country.
especially coming from
I
a woman
don't
from
care.
New Jersey. I think it's horrible that just because I'm from New Jersey, you asked me about unidentified flying objects and Martians. We're different, but we're not that different. Look. Of course,
Dude, there
the
are.
job
Stop
of the
laughing
United
and
States
giggling with your fat,
is to
disgusting
level with
gut.
the American
We have
people
real
about everything.
issues here. We don't
The
need to
job
know
of the
about the
President of the United
aliens, even
States
if they
is to
exist.
stand
You guys are
for
taking care of that
truth.
stuff. Christie would eat
job
the
of the
aliens.
President of the United States is to be a role model for our children and our grandchildren. And so whether it was UFOs,
And what Chris Christie
or
is
this
going to do is
problem of
he's going to be the very
education,
first
Tim's
to
right,
eat
by the way,
the aliens.
And I started this in 2010 by going right after the teachers unions in New Jersey and drove them down to an all-time low popularity rating because they were putting themselves before our kids. That is the biggest threat to our country, not UFOs.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the UFOs aren't
Coming
real
up,
because they're telling
we've
us
got
they're real, so
closing
they must not be
arguments.
real.
Plus, right after the debate, Hannity is live from the spin room right here in the Fiserv Forum with reaction.
Okay. Go unmuted. I don't care. I don't care about the aliens. I don't care. They're not real. Or maybe they are. But the government telling me they're real does not make me think that they're real. What's real is the forever wars. Oh my God. Yeah, my whole Twitter feed is just this. Let's do this tab instead. Is it the new tab? Okay, yeah. So I got memes. This is a joke about the cast. Chase asked, did they talk about housing at all? I think they touched on it. What did they say? Oh, well, they talked about the homeless crisis. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that I think before you joined, Chase, they were talking about the money into Ukraine and if Vivek, that was the only point when people were not really on his side. I think Vivek was talking about we need the money for here, not for over there. A lot of neocon takes, a lot of war takes. Yeah, Craig asked in the comment section, Cleveland, by the way, I got to cut out this ad. What questions does everyone wish they would ask? Me, the Fed, and the dollar. Yeah, did they touched on inflation near the very beginning. But what other questions do you guys really wish they asked? It was in Vivek is the only American first candidate. Yeah, Heidi's right. She's correct. That Vivek is the only American first candidate. And I'm going to repost that. It's my favorite lesbian. Ooh. Yeah, it's all in the Department of Education. School choice, the civil rights issue of our time. Yeah, he's right. Yeah, love Corey DeAngelis. Met him. I'm a little bit too dirty for that dude. As in, I'm not clean cut enough. That's fine. That's okay. Okay. Coming back.
When things go sideways, will you be prepared? Hey, it's Cade Courtley, former Navy SEAL platoon commander. I want to introduce you to the Patriot Power Generator 2000X. Use the endless free power of the sun to power lights, your TV, medical equipment, even run your fridge. And that's without gas, fumes, or noise. Go to 4patriots.com. You'll get a solar panel included free. This is about peace of mind. Get your solar generator and free panel at 4patriots.com.
Daniel, you said, dude, this is way better. What did you do? What do you mean? What are you talking about? What's way better?
World Trade Center, we understand.
One nation under God, indivisible.
Black Rifle Coffee Company. Woke ass company. Daniel, what do you mean? This is way better. What did you do? I don't know what I did. So what do you mean? You talking about the audio, the video? Why is there a plane inside?
As the sun sets
That's crazy.
in Simi Valley,
Planes are supposed to be
California. We'll see
outside.
there next month when our colleagues at Fox Business host the next 2024 showdown.
Fox Business is partnering with Univision, the Reagan Foundation, and Rumble to bring you the second Republican presidential debate on September 27th. It looks pretty nice there. 20 years ago, 70% of American adults said they were extremely proud to be an American.
You guys proud to be an American?
To just 39%.
I wouldn't say I'm super proud to be an
In his pitch to
American.
get to the Oval Office, President Reagan called America the shining city on a hill, a beacon of hope and optimism.
So in your closing statement tonight, please tell American voters why you are the person who can inspire this nation to a better day. These are 45 seconds, and we begin with Governor Burgum.
I understand why America's hurting. Biden's inflation is choking us.
Biden's has nothing to do with
small
inflation.
Town.
It is the
My dad
central
died
banks.
When I was freshman in high school.
I'm sorry, that sucks.
My mom, widow of three, went back to work. Every job I had growing up was one where I took a shower at the end of the day, not at the beginning of the day. Our cities are less safe because of the fentanyl pouring into this country.
Our cities are less safe.
Our economy is being
because of a
crushed
lot more than
by
that.
Biden's energy policies, which are raising the cost of every product you buy, not just the gasoline at the pump. One thing that I'll do as president, I'll secure the border. I'll get this economy sprinting, not crawling like it is right now. And I would say that other thing is for sure, when I'm on a horseback in the Badlands of North Dakota, it looks like the horizon is just limitless.
Sweet, I guess.
And when you can almost see beyond that horizon, you can see that this great country, our future is unlimited. But we've got to focus on innovation, not regulation. We've got to cut the red tape. We got to drive ourselves forward. The way we win the Cold War with China is by growing our economy and through innovation. And as president, I will bring out the best of America,
guy can't
I will
talk, dude.
improve every American life.
Well,
Governor
we hope you're
Hutchinson.
back on your horse soon, Governor.
Governor Hutchinson.
Our nation is in trouble, and it's in trouble because of failed leadership.
It's in trouble because of that
and the
flag
solution
on your
is not
jacket,
4
bro.
more years of Joseph Biden. The solution is not 4 more
Solution isn't
years
you.
of Donald Trump. The solution is new leadership that can bring
What's new about
bold
this guy?
ideas to America and to bring out the best of America. A president's
You know about the
number
best
one
of America.
responsibility
You got
is
another
to bring
country's
out the
flag
best
on your lapel.
of our people. That's what Ronald Reagan did. And he did it with optimism and
Get
hope
on your
for our
horse and
country,
ride
with
away.
consistent conservatism. That's exactly what I bring.
Again, seriously, look
As
at this
president,
guy's
I'll bring
eyes.
out the best of America.
They're evil,
in
aren't
terms
they?
Of
They're tiny.
individual responsibility, building
He's
our
got these
economy,
tiny black
in terms
eyes.
of securing our border, enforcing the rule
He's got
of
no
law.
white space
I'll
in his
bring out the
eyes, man.
best
What's
of
up
America
with
in
that?
terms of our national character, our faith, and our hope for the future. Join in this fight. ACE2024.com.
Thank you. Senator Scott.
Thank you. I was a disillusioned young man growing up in a single-parent household, mired in poverty. I wondered if the American dream was real for a kid like me. I can stand before you today and say the dream is alive, it is well, and it is healthy. I have the good fortune of a mom who works 16-hour days, making sure we have food on our tables. She taught me that if you're able-bodied in America, you work. If you take out a loan, you pay it back. If you commit a violent crime, you go to jail. And if God made you a man, you play sports against men.
Oh.
I'm Tim Scott. I'm asking you
He
for your
said
vote.
that.
And if
All
you're
right.
in Iowa, I'm asking you to caucus for me. You can go to votetimscott.com for more information or to make a
I
contribution.
think you're right, Chase. I think he is a
Governor
liver.
Christie.
I like him. I think Scott's
Thank you,
good.
Brett.
Scott's
Thank you,
definitely
Martha.
number 3. I did not
Look,
know about that guy
everybody on
before.
the stage wants to be
Larry
the next
Elder is
president
someone
of
I
the
like
United
as well.
States. And the only way that's going to happen
Chris Christie's
is
at
if we
the
beat
bottom.
Joe Biden. I'm the only one on this stage who's
Also,
ever beaten a
Hutchinson definitely is
Democratic
a
incumbent
lizard.
in an election.
I hope that
I
gets
did it in
thunderous
a deep
applause.
blue state, being outspent 3-1. Beating a Democratic incumbent is not easy. The last Democratic incumbent president who was defeated was Jimmy Carter. And he was defeated by a conservative governor from a blue state who knew how to get results, who stood for the truth, who cared about accountability, and stood strong and hard against waste. Those are the very things that I did in my 8 years as governor of New Jersey. And it's exactly what I'll do as president of the United States.
Pence
Believe
is
me,
also a lizard.
the Democrats want some other nominee who's never beaten a Democratic incumbent. I'm the one who can win this race. And if you give me the chance, I will restore our country by winning it.
Thank you. Governor Haley.
Several weeks ago, I dropped my husband, Michael, a combat veteran from Afghanistan, off at 4 a.m.
He's
for
from
another
Afghanistan,
year-long
huh?
deployment. I watched him and 230 soldiers pick up their 2 duffel bags of belongings to go to a country they had never been, all in the name of protecting America. If they are willing to protect us from there, we should be willing to fight for America here. I will beat Joe Biden, and he knows that. I will strengthen our economy, and we'll bring this inflation down. We will put transparency in the classroom. We will secure our borders. We will have the backs of our law enforcement, and we will make sure we have a strong national security. And once again, we will make sure we have an America that is strong and proud. We have a country to save. Join us. Go to NikkiHaley.com, and let's get it done.
That's not.
Vice President
Should do something else.
Thank you, Brad and Martha, for this evening. It's an honor to be here. Joe Biden has weakened America at home and abroad.
No, bro, you did.
The disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, their war on energy, runaway spending that launched the worst inflation in 40 years, a crisis at our southern border, an assault on our values and liberties. And the American people have had enough.
The spend.
But I know we can bring it back.
They were printing money. No
But
one
different
talks about
times
the money
call
printing.
For different leadership. The Republican Party owes the American people the choice.
Plenty of
Proven
us went over. We didn't
leadership
find the
at
Arab
national
Thomas
level
Jefferson
that
they
knows how to
spoke
move a
of.
conservative
Yeah,
agenda
that was a
forward.
lie.
We proved in the Trump-Pence years you can turn this country around faster than you can imagine. And I have faith we will again.
You didn't really.
Because
turn
I have
around
faith in the American people. the good, decent, hardworking, faith-filled, idealistic people of this country. And I have faith that God is not done with America yet.
I think we're screwed.
And if we will renew our faith in one another and renew our faith in Him who has ever guided this nation since we arrived on these wilderness shores, I know the best days for the greatest nation on earth are yet to come.
Thank you. Mr. Ramaswamy.
I was born in 1985, and I grew up into a generation where we were taught to celebrate our diversity and our differences so much that we forgot all of the ways we are really just the same as Americans, bound by a common set of ideals that set this nation into motion in 1776. And this is our moment to revive those common ideals. God is real. There are two genders. Fossil fuels are a requirement for human prosperity. Reverse racism is racism. An open border is not a border. Parents determine the education of their children. The nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to man. Capitalism lifts us up from poverty. There are 3 branches of government, not 4. And the U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom in human history. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what will win us the revolution of 2024. Thanks for letting me introduce myself tonight.
Yes. Yes. That's what we need. And now Governor DeSantis has to follow that. Oh, look at his face. He's worried. He's following Dave Chappelle right now.
Governor? This is our time for choosing. We will send Joe Biden back to his basement, and we will reverse the decline of this country. I'm a blue-collar kid. I work minimum wage jobs.
Send him back to his basement.
I understand the importance of the American dream, and I know how that's slipped away from so many millions of Americans. We'll restore it. I'm a veteran who served in Iraq. I know what it means to put service above self. I'm also a dad and a husband.
Tulsi Gabbard's
6'5" and 3-year-old. I understand
tagline. I have that on a
a
T-shirt, dude.
Parents' rights and the well-being of our children. In
I guess it's not
Florida,
that
we
original.
showed it could be done. I made promises and I delivered on all of those promises. 2024 is make or break. We're not getting a mulligan. No excuses. I will get the job done. And as your president, I will not let you down. God bless you all.
Pretty good, too.
Well, we want to say thank you. Thank you to all the candidates on the stage tonight, and thank you to Milwaukee.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you on the campaign trail from debates to primaries to the general election and the conventions before that. Thanks for joining us. Sean Hannity from the Spin Room starts right now.
Take it away, Sean.
Take it away, Sean.
All right. Well, thank you both. By the way, great job, Martha and...
Okay. All right. Let's get out of that. I would jump into something else, but been up here for 2 hours. Any last questions anybody have? Anybody want to share anything before I sign off here? It's 11. I'll be back live again tomorrow at 8 p.m. We're going to do that second show live, 5 till midnight. It's going to be with Adam Nutter, Luke and Typo from Biting the Bullet, and Kyle Matochik. That's first episode's going to be next Monday. Yeah, and I'm gonna throw this up on the podcast feed after I change it a little bit. Can you even criticize Biden? I feel like you got to talk about who's wheeling him around. Yeah, I mean, exactly, right? It's like whenever I'm talking about Biden, I'm really talking about like what Biden does. Like I'm just pretending that he's actually really part of it. It's more like his administration, which it always is, right? It's always like more than just the individual. But with Biden, it's just clearly, very clearly more so the others. Yeah, I'm glad I did this. Everybody came out. I appreciate it. I also love Tulsi. Tulsi is my favorite. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but on Twitter I have my Tulsi flower and the caterpillar in my name. Caterpillar is a reference to a rap song, actually. No one's ever asked about it though. DeSantis was weak in the final statement. I thought he did okay. But yeah, I see why you said that. I mean, I don't think he's that good of a talker, to be honest. Vivek definitely, I think, did the best. With 80 million forecasted to be on Social Security by 2030, were there any questions of substance asked of the candidates on that upcoming debt bomb? Somebody did bring up, like somebody just brought up Social Security. Like it wasn't being talked about. I don't remember who it was, but that was very brave of them. I think it's one of those things where like it's like untouchable as a voting issue. Chase, Tulsi quit the Democratic Party, so as far as I know, she's an independent now. I don't think she's actually in the government, but she's still a lieutenant colonel in the National Guard. Yeah. Was it Christie that said that? Geez, that's braver than I would have thought Christie would be. Yeah, I would love a ticket, which would like, I mean, I would take a Vivek Tulsi Gabbard ticket. I would take a Vivek Trump ticket. I would take a Trump Tulsi ticket. I would take a Tulsi Tucker ticket. I wouldn't take a Vivek Tucker. That one wouldn't even make any sense. But where was Yi? That's a good question, dude. Oh man, Yi should have been up there, man. I mean, I legitimately believe that. Maybe not president, but I think if he applied himself in that direction, he could do something. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate it. Everybody coming out live tomorrow night at 8 o'clock as well for the normal show. I hope this makes up for not being around last week. But thanks for coming again.